Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the McDonCast, the funnest podcast in town.
The only podcast
around
in town.
No, that's not it again.
No, I changed it.
You can't just change it. Now it's the same as the first one. You can't say the same words twice.
Fine. That's not, funnest isn't even really a word. So
well, it's okay to make up words. It's not okay to use the same two words twice in a row.
Well, what if I just say that funnest is that word?
What?
What
does that mean?
I said the funnest.
You said the funnest podcast in town, the only podcast in town. You just said the same thing twice.
Okay, what if I take funnest, which is already a pre-existing, not real word, and say that the past tense of funnest is in town? And then therefore
that doesn't
I didn't
make
use
any
a different
sense.
word.
And funnest is a word.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it's the most fun thing.
Funnest is
if something
not a
is
word.
Fun, something can be the funnest.
Fact check.
I'm pretty sure that's definitely
Cena, fact check that.
You got Lucina checking that for us? Over there taking a nap.
Asleep. Is funnest a real word?
All right, well, while Tucker's fact-checking that, let me give you guys a brief rundown of what we've got going on this week.
Not a real word.
We have Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny to review.
We saw it.
We did. That movie has been seen. We got gaming news from all over the industry. We got Dune trailer. We got Hollywood doing some actor strikes, maybe. We got Superman news. We got MCU moves, but a different MCU. It's not the Marvel one.
You should have told them it was the normal MCU, so they would have been excited.
Well, they'll be surprised.
Really disappointed when they find out what it actually is.
They'll be surprised. They'll be guessing what that M stands for. This whole episode. We also got some other stuff. We'll get into it, but let's get things started off with some gaming news.
Sam, tell me about this gaming news that you brought to the show yourself that I don't know anything about.
All right, so we have the CEO of Activision Blizzard, and he's been chirping, he's been talking, he's been spouting some words. You curious about those words? As he tends to do. So the CEO of Activision Blizzard went on the record to say that Nintendo's next system will have the same power as an Xbox One/PS4.
Why is the Activision Blizzard CEO talking about the power of the upcoming Nintendo system?
Because he was
a console he will most likely not develop anything of note.
Because he was probably sent a dev kit for said console.
He probably knows how.
And is now probably breaking his NDA.
I'm not questioning whether or not this is true, because it definitely is. I just realized if nothing's playing on the Steam.
Even if this was like even if this was like an insane rumor and it was like unconfirmed or it was like from some crackpot, like this is such a blatantly
we all knew this.
This is such a blatantly obvious like next step that it should not be surprising to anyone.
If it's gonna be another home console handheld hybrid, which I think everyone and their mother knows it's going to be, it's not gonna be as powerful as a PS5.
Obviously.
It's going to be as powerful as the last-gen system, which is what the Switch was. The Switch is about as powerful as an Xbox 360.
People who
the new Switch will be about as powerful as an Xbox One, and all of its third-party support, for the most part, will be a generation behind. I think we've all just kind of accepted that.
That's what they did with the Switch, and it was fine. And
it sold better than the Xbox One. So
like when the Switch came out, it was behind, but it wasn't so far behind that you couldn't pretty easily port like new gen games to the Switch. Like Doom had just come out, that got ported to the Switch with, not very many problems. Yeah. The Witcher 3 had just come out and that got ported to the Switch with like not very many problems.
The thing with the Switch is not that it couldn't take. Well, okay, I think the next gen ports that worked on the Switch were the stuff that was kind of developed before, like the PS4 Pros, Xbox Series X. Yeah. But they were kind of already using a little bit older architecture anyway, and so it was more susceptible to a Switch port. But the thing about the Switch was never that it was impossible to get games to run on it.
Now that's more the case. It was the fact
that it was expensive to do the actual work to get it to run.
And now a lot of studios would just foot that cost because if you put it on the Switch, it basically was guaranteed to sell like hotcakes.
That's why they all moved to cloud versions, because then they could just throw it on there.
Yeah, right now the Switch is not capable of sustaining.
I don't know.
Like modern.
It can run Arkham Knight on there. That's a PS4 game.
Okay, but we've yet to. Okay, but that's a PS4 game. That's a last gen game.
Games.
Yeah, I'm talking. No, that's what I'm saying. Like it cannot keep up with modern games that are coming out now.
Will.
No, but this one will. Like you could take a PS5 game, kick it in the balls a little bit and get it to run on a PS4. Sony's been doing that for the last
God of War
couple
Ragnarok
years.
is on PS4 and PS5, so I'm sure if you worked a little bit, you could probably get it to.
You could definitely
not that game would ever come out on.
You could fit it in the box if you really wanted to get it in there.
Yeah.
So this doesn't surprise me at all. This should be obvious information to anyone.
Whatever happened to that? Weren't they supposed to merge with Xbox, Activision Blizzard? Isn't that being held up by the government?
That is technically already gone through. Like they are effectively at this point operating as a single entity. However, they are still battling it out in court with Sony.
Is Sony the one who's stopping them?
Sony is the one who's trying to stop them.
If I was Sony, I'd just let them do it. They've already said they're not competing in the console wars anymore, which Sony only competes in the console wars, so why would they care?
And we have some info. It's not on here, but I probably should have put it on here, but I guess I can just say it. But Phil Spencer testified in court and guaranteed personally that he would never withhold Call of Duty from any PlayStation.
Yeah, no, it would be stupid
to do that. You'd lose money on that. You'd lose a lot of money.
I mean, if every game was multi-platform, they would make more money generally. But it's about targeting. When you're doing exclusives, it's about targeting.
You will sell less Xboxes, but you will sell way more Call of Duty.
It's about targeting which games will draw people to the console. Like Call of Duty being exclusive to Xbox.
That would sell more Xboxes, for sure.
That would draw people in, but it's not worth it to the point where the money gained from having it be on everything.
Exactly. The sales of Xboxes going up would be not as much money as just
people buying Call of Duty on the PlayStation.
Exactly. And Xboxes are sold at a loss. So are PS5s.
Every console is sold at a loss.
Except I think the Switch is the only one that isn't sold. I think the Switch is sold at a loss.
Probably not at this point.
It was when it came out, but at this point
the technology is probably so old at this point.
Yeah, basically every console sells at a loss. They make their money back in software sales. So
which is why it's really stupid that Xbox refuses to do software.
Yeah, I don't understand Xbox's strategy.
Xbox's strategy this generation has just been check out and take a 12-hour nap every day. Like they just don't try anymore.
They just built like a mid-spec gaming PC and then gave up.
It's not even like they did one big game and it was such a failure they're embarrassed and now they can't come back. It was just like a Wednesday hit and they were like, well,
okay, well that did kind of
stop trying.
they went big with Halo Infinite, $800 million big.
It's your most expensive
almost
game of all
$1 billion big. And then that did mediocre sales wise. It didn't even do bad. It just did very not super amazing. And then they kind of just went to bed after that. Now, they are coming back out with Starfield. Which is an exclusive.
It may or may not have a physical release.
It does have a physical release. What people were memeing about, I know what you're talking about. The collector's edition of the game
doesn't have the game in it.
Does not come with the game. However, it comes with an empty steelbook.
I'm pretty sure, didn't they do that with Fallout 76 as well?
They might have,
I'm pretty sure they sold the collector's version of the game that just didn't have a game in it.
Now, the reason that they have cited for this is it does come with a code for the game, so it does still come with the game, just not a physical copy of it, is because of the Xbox Series S. If you want to buy the collector's edition, but you have a Series S, then you would have no use for the disc.
I would kind of believe them if they hadn't already done this before when that wasn't the case.
Exactly.
They just don't want to have to print discs.
Put a disc on it. Yeah. It's cheaper to just print a code on a piece of cardboard.
Good job, Xbox. What was the other news story?
So we had another news story. Phil Spencer, he's been talking. He's
always talking.
Blabba-jabbing.
He's kind of the most honest of all of the... He'll just tell you
No, but he's been talking a lot. The last 2 or 3 months, he's just been talking.
Nintendo, the people who are in charge of Nintendo refuse to tell you about anything, and then...
Okay, but to be fair...
I don't even know who's in charge at Sony.
I'm pretty sure Nintendo has, trained snipers on, every executive's family, so if they ever say anything, they can just, eliminate them immediately.
Miyamoto will occasionally, something will slip.
Sometimes Sakurai will say stuff.
Yeah, Sakurai...
But he always plans his stuff.
Well, Sakurai also doesn't, technically work for them. So I think he can kind of
No, but they still got their snipers
weasel out because he's technically an independent developer. What's he up to, by the way?
He is probably taking...
Sora came out on Smash early last year, right?
No, it came out in 2021, I think.
Let me fact check that because it's been
a hot minute.
Oh yeah, it's been it was revealed in October. It came out early the next year. So. Yeah. It's been about over a year since he's been on break. I wonder if he's gonna actually start doing something soon.
Maybe he's been making all those like Kirby spin-offs. You know how they make a new Kirby spin-off like every 4 days?
My guess is his next thing is probably gonna be a Switch 2 game.
Here is what I'm guessing.
I hope he does another Kid Icarus.
Yeah, that would be cool. I'd be glad to see that. And also, that's, I think, one of the last few franchises Nintendo hasn't.
Yeah, but I doubt it because no one played any of the other ones.
Yeah, well, Uprising sold okay. It wasn't like a
hit. Uprising's problem was that it was just like really expensive to make.
Well, that and it was really hard to play
because the control.
The 3DS was not capable of the scale that game was made.
No, which means like if he could do something like that on a bigger system.
Honestly, they could just port it to the Switch.
Well, Star Fox Zero and Kid Icarus were both games that were like, there's a good game in here somewhere. It's too bad that they're impossible to control on any level. Like Kid Icarus Uprising,
you had to aim with the stylus.
Came out, it came with a stand that you would prop your 3DS on because you had to use both your hands at the same time and couldn't.
Well, no, it was just a C stick like external.
No, you're thinking about a different thing. No, it literally had a stand because it took two hands at once to just control the game.
Well, you had to have one hand on the D-pad, and then you had to shoot
with the stylus.
With the stylus, if you had the C-stick, you could shoot with the C-stick. But that version of the 3DS didn't come out for 3 years, because the game came out in 2014, I think. And that the new 3DS didn't come out till 2017. Yeah, so there was a 3-year gap in between the game's release and being able to play it in a not stupid way.
Yeah, and then Star Fox Zero was just like a complete
Star Fox Zero was just a mess, and it should not have been made.
Mess on every level. But I am surprised that they didn't do anything with either of those IPs this generation at all.
They did a little bit with Star Fox in that Toys to Life game. I think
that's true.
But that game sold so poorly.
That game was such a failure.
I think Nintendo was like, Star Fox Zero sold bad. This game, which is not a Star Fox game, sold bad. So no more Star Fox.
They probably
sometimes they do stupid stuff.
They probably
like
did blame the failure. Well, they didn't make that game. That was Ubisoft, I think, made that game.
Yeah.
But like that game was a Toys to Life thing that came out after Toys to Life was already dead.
Like several years past its prime.
And it didn't really, and it had like, other than Star Fox, it had like no IP characters in it. Like Disney Infinity,
there were no characters involved.
Lego had like Batman, like Starlink: A Battle for Atlas had guy who flies spaceship.
It had Steven.
It had Chad.
The guy named Bob.
Yeah, like it was a failure for way more reasons than just Star Fox not being in the game.
Yeah, it was just kind of conceptually a bad idea.
Anyway,
but what were we talking about?
Whatever you're
right. Sakurai was
Phil Spencer.
Oh yeah. So Phil Spencer, who's been talking a lot, he's been blabbing. He went on record saying, Elder Scrolls 6 is 5 or more years away from release. Meaning that at the earliest, it would come out 10 years after its announcement. Not after Elder Scrolls 5.
No.
After its announcement, which, if I'm not mistaken, was 8 years after Elder Scrolls 5.
Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim came out on November 11th, 2011.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been already 11 years? Almost 12?
Mm-hmm.
So there's been almost 20 years in between Elder Scrolls games?
If this game comes out in 2028, so 2028, that will be a 17-year-long development cycle. That game will it's dev time. It will release 1 year away from being able to vote.
Yeah, that tracks. No, they didn't. They haven't started working on this game yet.
And why did they reveal it?
Because that way there was a big headline at E3 that year, and that was it. And so a bunch of people would cheer because they needed to look like. Because Bethesda, remember
they had just bought Bethesda.
No, remember Bethesda used to do its own conference at E3.
Well, before they got bought by Xbox.
And they would need to pack the conference with stuff. And if you just say Elder Scrolls, then everyone in the audience freaks out. And so that year they were like, well, we need to have a big show stopping clapping time. What do we got? And someone said, I can make an Elder Scrolls 6 logo in Photoshop in 15 minutes.
And you know what?
Click, 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 click. Elder Scrolls 6.
I can even forgive them.
They haven't even started working on it yet.
I can forgive them for this. On one contingency. They have one excuse.
What's that?
If Starfield is good, like really good. Because that means that they put all their time and effort into Starfield. If Starfield is really, really good, I'll give them a pass. But if Starfield is like mid or bad, done.
I don't know.
Dead.
Starfield's only going to be able to run at max 30 frames per second.
Yeah, that's not a good sign.
On an Xbox Series X, the most powerful computation device ever created.
12 teraflops 12 of GPU power.
Billion GPU terabytes of information at a second.
Now, okay, the Series S, 4 teraflops. If it doesn't run at 60 on that, I can forgive them. You know, it's like that thing's struggling. The Series X, though, thing's basic.
What's it gonna run on the Series S at 15 frames per second?
No, it's still 30.
They're both capped at 30.
They're both capped at 30.
That makes no sense.
With the resolutions locked to their maximum. So
it's probably gonna be more like
it's 1440p on the Series S and 4K on the Series X.
Wow, it makes no sense. It's weird.
No one even owns 4K TVs, and 1440p TVs don't even exist.
Okay. A 4K game that can only run at 30, I get. That's fine.
No,
it's the fact
I don't give them a pass for that.
You're mad.
Because the Series X and the PS5, their entire pitch, the entire reason these were even made was not even that, was 4K 120 hertz. That was the goal. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think a single game on either platform has hit that mark.
What, 4K 120?
4K 120.
Like, no, like, first-party games for sure have hit that mark.
I mean, maybe like an indie game with like pixel art.
Gran Turismo.
Yeah, maybe Gran Turismo.
Gran Turismo probably hit 120 frames per second, but I'm pretty sure it was hitting 60 on the PS1. So that's
also that's like
hard.
A racing sim, so that's not even like a real game.
No, you're mad about the 4K 30 FPS thing. For me, that would be fine if you had the option to change it.
Yeah. Why didn't they put a slider?
I have zero problem with 1080p 60 FPS.
Me too.
That's
perfectly
fine.
Because my TV doesn't go any higher than that.
Why do I not have the option to just do that? Why do I have to do it in 4K 60 FPS? Because everyone who doesn't own a 4K television is just going to be confused why their game is capped at 30, even though it's running in 1080p anyway.
And you know what game does let you change it from 4K 30 to 1080p 60?
Is it Skyrim?
No, it's Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk figured it out. If Cyberpunk can figure it out, what's your excuse?
We're just too busy over here, man.
We're in space, bro.
We're in space, man.
We can't do no logical things.
We got to start working on Elder Scrolls 6, which we're going to develop
which
on
we'll
our
never
Macintosh.
Make.
Using our engine from 2009.
Yeah, the fact that it's running on the same engine as Skyrim is embarrassing.
That's why. That's the real reason why.
Do you think
it's because they've just been developing these games on old as heck hardware? Because they refuse to update
dev
anything.
Kits for like Xboxes.
No, it's because Bethesda is a cheapo company who doesn't want to spend the money to upgrade anything, and so they're just perfectly fine taking 8 years to make games that are developed on engines made in 2007.
Oh, that was another thing. One of the things that came to light in the trial, or not the trial, but the like court proceedings with the Activision Blizzard thing is that apparently Sony had withheld sending dev kits to Mojang for the PS5 version of Minecraft. To try and like basically make them look bad, so that they'd have more trouble developing on the PS5. In order to try to make it look like, guys, Microsoft is bad. They shouldn't be buying all these companies. That
makes you look bad.
They don't develop for third party as well. Even though the reason why the development was held up was because Sony refused to give them dev kits.
It's just weird.
Yes, yeah. This whole thing has been real weird.
No, I mean, everyone at these companies who like runs them is just weirdos. Like, what kind of business decision is that?
I don't know.
What if we self-sabotaged ourselves so that the 9-year-olds who are downloading Minecraft on their PS5 they got for Christmas are like, wow, you know, the company Mojang, which is owned by Microsoft, is really not friendly to third-party developers.
Yeah, that's such a weird, like...
They're not thinking that. They'll just be like, wow, this PS5 doesn't run this well.
Yeah, it's
this Minecraft game from 2009.
It makes you look bad.
It makes you look stupid.
No one is thinking that deep about it. Like, they're going to be like, wow, this game sucks on PlayStation.
You know why? Because it runs fine on everything else.
It runs fine on the freaking iPhone.
Why would they be like, this is probably Minecraft's fault that it's not running on the PlayStation 5?
This game that can run at 120 hertz on my iPad is not good.
It's so dumb.
Yeah, but Xbox, I don't know. They've been real weird about everything they've done for the last 7 years.
Yeah. All right, well, you done with your gaming news? All your gaming thoughts?
That's it for the gaming news this week.
All right, well,
I don't think we had anything from Nintendo.
Well, no, they just did their big direct. So they're about to go cold for 6 months. Until probably
the Pikmin demo came out.
True, I haven't played it yet.
And the other 2 Pikmin games came out.
It's true, they dropped the day of the direct.
I haven't played any of them because I don't really care about Pikmin.
How much are they on this eShop?
I think they're 40 each.
40 each?
Yeah.
As a collection?
I don't know. I think you can buy them together. I don't know. I think it's 70 for both.
No, they say in the direct you can.
I think it's 70 for both and 40 for them individually.
40 is a lot.
I mean, I think it's because they've redone them a little. They've touched them up to make them look nice on the new consoles.
Pikmin 1 and 2 bundle. It's taking its time to load because the Wi-Fi. $50 for the bundle.
$50 for both? That's not bad at all.
So they must be $20.
$25 for a Pikmin game? That's not bad.
$50? Yeah, 25. Well, I think it's combined. It's less, so they're probably 30 each.
Yeah, that seems fair.
That seems good.
Yeah, that's a reasonable price for that.
I mean, I would prefer 20. I mean, Pikmin 3 on the Wii U was $20. So.
Well, yeah, but that's after it was heavily discounted.
I miss Nintendo Selects. Why did they get rid of that? Other than the fact that they can keep their game
because they realized they could just make way more money by not doing that.
Okay, but Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom's already out. So no one's paying $60 for Breath of the Wild.
So here was
lower that price.
No, they had what I think is the biggest brain strategy ever. Instead of lowering the price of the old game, just raise the price of the new game. Big brain.
Why?
Because screw you.
I mean, that's true. I'm gonna pay for it. All right, I did pay for it anyway.
I think Nintendo and Apple probably are the 2 companies that hate their customers the most.
No, I mean,
actively do things because they hate you and they want you to not enjoy their products.
I don't think it's pure malice. I think it's literally more just they're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, that is they are taking advantage of you. That is a malicious act.
That's true, but they're taking it. I'm being taken advantage.
You're consenting to it.
I know they're doing it.
You're consenting to it.
I'm just doing it anyway.
That doesn't mean it's okay.
I mean, it's fine. I don't really care that much.
Honestly, I'm surprised that the game prices have stayed at $60 for so long.
Yeah, no, they
with inflation,
people complain about it being $70, but it does make sense that it's $70.
With inflation adjusted for the price when it was set to $60, because I think it was 2006 when games kind of locked.
They've been at the same price for 15 years.
They would be $90 if you adjusted for inflation to when it was set at that price. And they're getting
more expensive to make, and inflation. It would make sense that the price would go up.
Now,
which is why I don't really make a big deal about it.
Counterpoint. That's for games that are new games, with groundbreaking tech. Nintendo is developing games for what is essentially a slightly powered up Wii, which they have had since
2005.
So for them, I don't know if the price of development has significantly increased, given they're essentially still working on the same hardware, just with the sliders turned up a bit. But
No, I mean, but I feel that the scale of who actually needs to adjust the prices is so all over the place. Because Sony, when they do the new Last of Us game, that probably cost. I mean, the article came out the other day that Last of Us Part 2 cost $800 million to make.
Remember when they spent
that being $70 makes sense.
Yeah,
EA, who's cranking out Madden 24, which they probably updated in a week and spent 3 hours on collectively, cost them $15, and McDonald's
should not be $70.
That should not be $70. That did not cost them anything to do.
Yeah, they just turned the sliders up and changed the numbers on the shirts.
As soon as the $70 baseline was set, as we can price games this high, everyone was going to work their way up to
now. The gaming industry has still found its way to get its money back, because games, I would argue, basically all release feature incomplete nowadays.
Oh yeah,
with the exception of Nintendo and maybe 1 or 2 other titles a year. Basically, every game is released incomplete or with microtransactions.
Or completely unfinished.
Yeah.
And then they all send out that fun little Twitter letter Or they're like,
I'm sorry.
Oh, we're so sorry about the fact that we made a game in a week and
sorry,
it don't
our
work
game
at
is
all.
batty. Sorry.
If you come back in
no refund though.
If you come back in 3 years, it'll be finished. And a bunch of people will tell you in 3 years that the game is good now, but we don't have the time to finish it.
Cyberpunk is still a mess. Like I've been like slowly playing through it over the last like year or so
for no reason.
Just because like, well, the story's good. Like the story is actually good. The game is not good. Like there are parts even today where like I'm playing through this story, right? And there's this girl character that you meet like about halfway through the story, and like in some scenes she has like a giant like flamethrower she walks around with. But when she's walking around and not holding the flamethrower, she still has her arms like this, like she's holding the flamethrower. And I'm like, guys, this game came out in 2022. How have you not figured out walking cycles yet?
2021?
Or whatever. The point is...
Wait, no, didn't it come out in 2020?
This should not be a problem.
Did Cyberpunk 2077 come out in 2020?
I think so.
Oh my god, it did. It's been almost 3 years since Cyberpunk 2077.
What is CD Projekt Red?
What is time? What is time?
I don't know.
What is happening? Why do I feel like everything goes by really fast now?
Because nothing happens anymore.
That's true. No, everything happens.
Things happen too fast and too
everything
slow at the
happens
same time.
all at once, and then I just forget and check out after 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think that's all the gaming.
No,
news.
didn't CD Projekt Red? They're doing the next Witcher. They already revealed that.
Well, they said they're doing it, but we don't know anything.
No,
about
they went
it.
out and they were like, "We're doing 3 new Witcher games."
Yeah, that's not gonna ever happen.
But that's like what they're working on.
We're gonna see maybe one of those, and it's gonna be half baked.
I mean, they're all gonna be half baked. Every game is gonna be half baked.
Witcher 3 was like good when it came out. Like
that
they
was
did
in,
that
like,
good.
2016. So
on the Switch, it came out in 2019 though, and that run good.
Too bad.
I mean, good enough. It was on the Switch. You know.
Hold up. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. What was so wild that he was hunting in that game?
No, the Wild Hunt is a group of characters.
Came out in 2015. So that was back when games were usually finished.
Yeah, that's back when the games they completed.
When the next one comes out in 2026, they will be finished.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. We gotta move on. There was another trailer for Dune Part Two.
Yeah, let's get the Dune
Part
trailer.
Two.
All right, should be
It's about 3 minutes long. This is, of course, releasing November 3rd, 2023. The Warner Brothers picture, and if you've been paying attention to the news for the past 3 years,
Warner Brothers is not
they're racked for cash and desperate for a hit. So
at least I think this movie though will be good actually.
Oh no, from the trailer?
Yeah,
this looks freaking incredible.
This is going to be a good movie.
This might be the greatest thing that's ever been made.
However, though, this movie also costs $1 billion.
Well, okay, so we don't know the budget yet.
It's $1 billion.
But the last one did, which came out in November 2021, did $402 million worldwide on a $165 million budget.
The last one had a budget of $165?
Yeah, but that was released on, of course, day and
date
date on HBO Max, so we don't really know how well it would have done.
Yeah.
But it did apparently do well enough. It did well enough on HBO Max to warrant.
I mean, word of mouth was great.
Word of mouth was amazing, and it got nominated for a bunch of Oscars, and this one probably will too.
Yeah, I mean, it looks awesome. The trailer looks freaking awesome.
This one has a chance to win this year because
nothing else came out.
There's not been a whole lot of great movies this year.
What's it up against? Like Asteroid City, and that's it?
What's that? Past Lives?
Yeah, no one saw that.
John Wick Chapter 4?
That's...
The Super Mario Brothers movie.
Oh my gosh, that's gonna get nominated for Best Animated Feature, isn't it?
It's gonna win Best Animated Feature.
Because no one saw it.
Well, it won't. It'll get nominated.
Yeah, it'll get nominated. Elemental will probably win.
Or Nimona.
Or Spider-Man. Spider-Man could actually win.
Spider-Man probably will win, actually, though. I don't know. Spider-Man should get nominated for Best Picture at this point in the year.
Honestly, it should.
I mean,
what else is nothing else
is July. We haven't entered, like, Oscar award season
yet.
Some
people are really mad about it, though, because it is only half a movie.
That's true.
They should have kept the part 1 in there. That was so dumb.
I don't know why they didn't.
See, Dune did it right. They put part 1 in the title.
Well, they didn't put, like, on the marketing, they just marketed it as Dune, and then in the actual movie it said part 1.
Yeah,
so, like,
which that way it prepares you for what the ending is going to be, which is no ending.
I know why they did it. It's because if they did it part 1, then people would be expecting part 2 right away.
Yeah.
Because they took that out, now they can take 3 to 4 years on the next one.
Even though they said it was going to release next year, which was
end up
really
happening.
dumb.
Is that it's probably going to be about a 4 to 5 year break in between them.
It was so dumb when they were like, guys, Spider-Man Part 2 come out next year.
Oh, anyway.
And then like a week later, they were like, guys, never mind.
So also, Villeneuve? I think it's just Villeneuve.
Who?
Denis Villeneuve, the director of the Dune movies. So this is his second part of his planned trilogy of Dune movies. So the first Dune was the first half of the book.
Yep.
This one is the second half of the book. The next one is the next book.
A whole next book?
Dune Messiah. That's what he's planning.
That one's significantly shorter, though, right?
I think so. I think they're because there's like 9 books in the Dune series. I think I think the first.
But some of them
are
about like different characters.
The first one is giant, and then like they get. I think they're all like shorter.
Well, the first one is also half dictionary.
Yeah, I mean, as with every like 50s, 60s sci-fi fantasy thing, it was just like detailing weather patterns and how,
he actually
how species go to the bathroom.
There is a whole dictionary in the back of the book that explains like terminology of the world.
Yeah, but Dune Messiah has not been greenlit yet.
It'll get greenlit.
So if this film does well, they'll do the third one.
This movie will do. I think this one will do better than.
But also, this one won't be a straight up cliffhanger like this last one was.
Because again, proper ending.
This will be the finish of the first
the end
book.
of the book.
The last one was just stopped halfway through. So
it's like, all right, movie over. Bye bye. Get out. Get out of the theater.
If you watch the trailer, this Dune Part 2 was shot entirely in IMAX.
Cool.
And it's Greg Fraser came back to do the cinematography. He obviously was nominated.
Looks good. Looks great.
Looks amazing. I cannot wait.
The colors, perfect
on a giant screen.
IMAX screen only.
That's right.
I hope $17 tickets.
I hope it's 3 hours. This is the only movie that I hope is 3 hours.
The first one was like 2.5 hours.
And watch like the just like amazing wide shots for like 3 hours. That's all I want.
Big of the movie.
I don't really care about the storyline. I just want to look at the photos.
Yeah, I'm excited. This movie looks cool.
No, but it looks great. Great cast too.
I mean, it's the same cast as the last one.
Christopher Walken joined this one. He's gonna play the king of the universe or whatever.
That big worm guy.
The emperor. No, the big worm guy is the same.
No, not that worm guy. The other worm guy who's the king of the universe. King of the universe is worm guy.
He's not a worm guy. He's Christopher Walken in this one. He might be in the books at some point. In Dune Messiah, Timothée Chalamet's character turns into a big worm.
Yeah, he becomes the.
At some point, everyone.
He becomes the king of the universe.
Yeah. So, cast members: Timothée Chalamet obviously coming back. Zendaya's coming back.
I guess spoilers, by the way,
for more than
that. If you were not,
it's a 70-year-old
book is like 100 years old.
Yeah,
get over it.
You gotta see it, and that's not what you're watching.
You don't even know what we're saying.
You can barely figure out what's going on.
You said worm guy. You don't know what worm guy is.
Zendaya obviously coming back. She'll be in this one for more than 5 minutes.
More than
they keep
30
promising.
seconds.
Rebecca Ferguson's coming back. Josh Brolin's coming back. Austin Butler, of course, was Elvis.
He's joined the cast. Duncan Idaho coming back?
He's like a warrior guy.
Is Duncan Idaho coming back?
Idaho is not coming back. He died.
No.
Remember when he died?
Yeah. But he can come back though.
And Jason Momoa was too busy filming 2 more Fast and Furious sequels.
Oh yeah, forgot
he's got to do the Hobbs spinoff.
Forgot when he plays the Joker.
Florence Pugh joined this one. She's the Emperor's daughter, and like there's a love triangle thing with her and Timothée Chalamet.
She's cool. She's also in
Dave Bautista's coming back. Christopher Walken is playing the Emperor.
No, again. she's in some other movie that's like coming out soon, isn't
Florence Pugh?
Yeah.
She's in a lot of stuff. No,
but like it's coming out like very. Oh, she's in Oppenheimer.
Yeah, she is in Oppenheimer. She plays
girl.
She plays J. Robert Oppenheimer, the woman he had an affair with.
Oh yeah, I didn't wait. Her name is also Oppenheimer.
No, Oppenheimer, the woman Oppenheimer had an affair with. That.
Oh, why would you use his whole name and then be like, and then say that as if it's the woman's name?
I don't. Whatever. Who cares? Let's see.
All right. Anything else about Dune?
Joining the cast. Stellan Skarsgård was in the last one.
Okay, we don't need you to just read a list of names.
Looks great. Hopefully this one makes money.
I do hope, because I do want to see the conclusion.
I want to see the third one, and I want it not to be released direct to HBO Max.
Yeah,
on
that
like
would
a
be
Thursday
kind of lame.
in September. All right.
Alrighty, real quick before we move on to the next story, I'm gonna take a bathroom break. Okay. Alrighty, we're back, and I have a cough drop, so I might talk weird. But all right.
So Sam, there's been a lot of talk recently in the past few months, rightfully so, about the writers' strike. What that's doing to Hollywood, what's going on. Are they going to get paid fairly for the job they do? Probably not.
Probably no, because usually things only get worse.
But we're kind of on the precipice of not only having there be a writer's strike, but an actor's strike as well.
And that would shut down the whole shebang.
As of June 30th, which is like a couple days ago as of recording, SAG-AFTRA, which is the Screen Actors Guild, and the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, which is the heads of all the studios, agreed for an extension of talks about a new contract between them. The extension is going to go till July 12th, which is in 9 days as of recording, so about a week and a half.
Coming up soon.
But some of those days will just be off for the July 4th holiday.
Yeah.
So really less days than that. The old contract was scheduled to run out on June 30th at midnight Pacific time. However, it'll now run out midnight Pacific time on July 12th if a new deal is not reached. The extension comes amid a grassroots backlash within the Actors Guild to strike a new deal, as over 1,700 members signed a letter to guild leaders saying that they would rather go on strike with the members of the WGA than compromise on key issues. Back in early June, 98% of guild members agreed to go on strike if an agreement was not reached with the studios. They put out their complete list of stuff that they're bargaining over. Just a few highlights. The main one is outdated contract terms, coupled with the evolution of the media business, including shorter season orders and longer hiatuses between seasons for television. Also, residual payments for streaming shows and movies, regulating the use of artificial intelligence and alleviating the burdens of an industry-wide shift towards self-taping. So self-taping is
like doing your own voice lines?
Like auditioning, like sending a tape into a studio to audition for a role. A lot of the studios have moved towards that after COVID. They've been bringing less people in.
Yeah, because then you don't have to use your studio.
Like an actual person in to come audition.
Yeah, you can just do it.
But they're saying that causes like a big burden on actors if they don't have the equipment or the ability to like spend a large portion of their day recording auditions.
Smartphone.
This is just what they're saying. That's probably the main thing they'll compromise on, because there's not like
you have phones.
If you're a struggling actor, it probably is easier to record yourself and send a tape in anyway. Like I'm guessing it's harder to be noticed.
Okay,
but like you're more likely to be able to record yourself on your phone than to be able to like drive to a
We could record an audition tape with the stuff in this room, and we make a podcast for like 50 people,
and it's crap.
Exactly. Like if we can do a recording, I think anyone can do a recording.
If a strike were to occur, it would be an unprecedented move in the industry pretty much entirely if both the Writers Guild and the Actors Guild were on strike at the same time. Any productions in TV and film that already haven't been shut down from the writer's strike would definitely close down if there was an actor's strike. A lot of productions that film in the UK or are made in the UK have kind of been immune to the writer's strike because it's the Writers Guild of America.
Yeah, they're in a different country.
However, the Actors Guild is for pretty much everybody, including British actors.
How does that work, like legally? How do you have a guild? How do you have a union that's like across national borders?
I don't know.
I feel like that would be very difficult.
Well, I think
to manage.
SAG and AFTRA used to be two separate organizations, and I think they merged, and that's why it's
obviously
big.
They got the two names.
Yeah, so
together. It's like Bandai Namco over here.
So Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, Doctor Who, stuff like I think House of the Dragon, stuff like that shoots in the UK that is kind of able to avoid all the picket lines here in the US. that would all shut down.
Yeah.
So studios would also be forced to dramatically redo their programming slates for the fall TV season, because no scripts, no writers. You're doing all reality TV all the time.
Oh, goody. Maybe Max did merge at the right time.
And then films would be pushed back months, or they would rush to finish them like right now. There was
both very good.
There was conflicting reports this past week that Deadpool 3 had already wrapped filming after like
there's no way that
less than a month.
Absolutely not.
But there might be some truth to it because they might have been like, just shoot everything because we gotta get done before the actors strike.
There's no way that's true. That's not a feasible schedule at all.
Actors would also be unable to do press for upcoming films that they're in, which coupled with the shutdown of late night shows
would totally cripple their marketing.
They'd have to completely redo all.
I wonder maybe if that's why like marketing has totally died in the last for movies.
That's the reason. If the Barbie marketing push really started like last week, that was because they were trying to like put out all their marketing spending before the actor strike so that they could get all that out there in case they couldn't do it later on. Because Barbie doesn't come out for like another 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah,
but they've already been doing the marketing push.
Okay, Barbie probably doesn't really need that much marketing because it's Barbie, but like,
yeah, no, I
think this like Ruby Gillman, for example, that's obviously
I think we just live in a really strange time generally. Like, if you want to market like 20 years ago, right? If you were trying to market a movie towards kids, you would air TV commercials like Saturday morning cartoons, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, comic book ads, like. you could find ways to get to kids. What do you do to market to a kid now? YouTube ads on Cocomelon videos, which is illegal. So like, how do you market to kids now other than like toy ads?
You could do Hulu ads.
Yeah, I mean,
do Apple TV Plus ads.
There's no ads on Apple.
Yeah, there are for other Apple
TV Plus shows. But like, say you're trying to market Ruby Gillman to TikTok. Like kids.
You do TikTok ads.
The thing about TikTok ads is that like you can.
Have you seen the Ruby Gillman TikTok ads?
No, I don't look at Ruby Gillman TikTok ads.
Dude, they're so bad. Okay, you know the song "I'm Just a Teenage Dirtbag"? Like, have you heard that song before?
Yeah.
So they took that song, and then they just dubbed over the word "dirtbag."
Just a teenage Kraken.
Oh. And put like generic footage of the movie, and it just replays that over and over. That's the ad.
Oh no! Oh, that's so bad.
It's very bad.
I think marketing movies, especially right now with the writer's strike, is especially hard because like stuff like No Hard Feelings, the Jennifer Lawrence comedy, Strays, which is the talking dog swearing movie with Will Ferrell, like that stuff is normally like late night shows.
And
that's how they do like all their press because that's like their market they're trying to appeal towards.
Well, and writers also make ads.
Yeah, with all of that shut down, they're kind of crippled in what they can actually do.
Yeah, they don't got a lot of options.
But yeah, if there is
because like if you compare the marketing right now to marketing for movies like earlier this year, like Puss in Boots had like big marketing, and that movie didn't even do like super great. Like
it did pretty well in the long run.
It did good, but like the marketing was, I feel like, way more visible than for like Ruby Gillman, which is they're both DreamWorks.
Yeah, I think
I'm comparing the two.
I think the biggest change with marketing in comparison to like the past is that the audience is so split up now. Like in 1985, right? You wanted to run TV ads for a movie.
Well, you don't even got to go back that far. But you go back like a year or two.
There were 3 networks, right? You did all 3 of the networks, and that was what you did. Yeah. But like now, there's a million streaming services, a million shows, a million YouTube videos. So like trying to like figure out where demographics are, what they're watching, divvying up the money to spend. Which ones did you put all your money on Hulu advertising or Disney Plus advertising?
Well, okay, that's only partially true though, because we also have way tighter demographic targeting for ads. You can advertise
the AI
exactly to the specific person you want to advertise to. Like Google has, you know, petabytes of data on, you know, the U.S. population and for exactly who is most susceptible to what product, and that, like, you know, Hulu, Netflix, all of them, they all have this.
I do think it is harder to market now than it was before.
It's harder to market to a mass audience, but to market to specific demographics, I would argue it's much easier.
But the mass audience is what they're looking for. Like they need everybody to come in, and I feel like unless like,
well, I think it's just harder to make.
There's also so much
for everyone now.
There's also so much stuff. If people aren't like talking about something and it doesn't escape just like the endless noise, then it'll just get lost in the shuffle, regardless of whether or not like it's actually.
There's just generally way more content now, and when you have more content, you're less likely to make content that appeals to everyone.
Like a lot of people were complaining about the elemental marketing, and that a lot of people didn't know it was coming out.
Elemental marketing was everywhere.
Was fine.
That's the biggest. People who say that are so dumb.
Yeah, but like the elemental was marketed. Its problem was that no one was talking about it at all, because their Spider-Verse had come out, Transformers had come out, everyone was talking about the Flash and Indiana Jones because they had premiered at Cannes. People were talking about the Little Mermaid. There was just so much stuff going on that no one stopped to like think about Elemental. That's why that movie didn't perform.
No, the marketing was everywhere. We were walking around in the mall, and there's like giant stickers of Wade on the wall. Like the marketing was everywhere.
Yeah, I don't think it's insufficient marketing. It's just I feel like there's so much marketing that there didn't used to be.
I think the marketing did not do a good job of making the movie look unique.
No,
that movie
looked like Zootopia with water.
It looked painfully generic. It looked so freaking generic. It looked like a movie we've all seen a dozen times. And I think that was the same thing with Ruby Gillman. It looked like freaking, what was the movie the Pixar movie that came out like 2 years ago with the same exact premise, with the guys who turn into fish people?
Huh? Oh, Luca?
Luca. Yeah, it's Luca with a girl instead of a dude. The same concept, almost exactly.
Yeah, we'll talk. We might probably talk about this later we'll touch on it later when we talk about Indiana Jones. But just like Hollywood, every movie, it seems, is just bombing, coming out, bombing. Nothing is performing extraordinarily well. There's a writer's strike. There probably will end up being a actor's strike, although probably for not nearly as long as the writer's strike will last. But Hollywood is real. Streaming services are just having to dump content a week after it comes out. It was literally I just saw it on Twitter, like while you were in the bathroom 5 minutes ago. The Disney Plus premiered an original movie in May that they just wrote off for a tax write-off today.
What movie?
It was called Crater. It was like a kid's premiere, but they literally premiered it like less than 2 months ago, and it didn't meet high viewership, so it's just yeeted from existence forever. Like we're in such a weird time. I think we are at a tipping point with Hollywood and how everything's going to be run. I just don't know what is next. Like, it's impossible for me to figure out where it's going.
I think Barbie and Oppenheimer will do well. I think that's a pretty safe bet. Everyone is saying like, oh, anything could happen. These movies, they could go good or bad.
They could go bad.
I don't think they will.
Okay.
I think that these are safe bets. I think because the big movies people are pointing to right now for, everything's flopping is Indiana Jones, The Flash, Ruby Gillman, and Elemental. Those 4 came out like one after another, and they were all pretty much in the toilet right away. Not so much Indiana Jones. It's kind of like we can, but you get what I'm saying.
We'll probably touch on this later when we talk more about the box office. But I think Mission Impossible is probably going to do better than the last one did because of Top Gun Maverick and Tom Cruise hype.
Yeah.
It'll probably still not be profitable because that movie also cost like $300 million from COVID stuff. Barbie's gonna open big. The question with Barbie will be whether or not it's good, and if it's good, it'll hold. If it's not, it'll open really big and then drop off like a rock. And then Oppenheimer has the advantage of wrapped up all of the PLF screens for like 3 straight weeks.
Yeah,
and that's more of a dad movie, and dad movies tend to play for a longer period of time because they're less. They're way more likely to wait a month before going and seeing a movie in a theater.
Yeah, their priorities are not.
So I feel like that movie will probably hold better than Mission Impossible and Barbie will. But if 1 or 2 of those movies just absolutely just like clunks it on impact, we're in for some weird times. Super freak out. Because then nothing this summer has connected except for Spider-Verse. And that's like a nightmare scenario.
Guardians and Spider-Man will be the only movies
You can't just have like 2 movies do well in a summer where there were 25 large high budget theatrical releases coming out and none of them hit. But yeah, we'll talk about that probably later on. Moving on to more actor related casting news, Sam. So conveniently, the week after The Flash came out and had its 72% second weekend drop, a second worst of all time next to Morbius, James Gunn and DC, in a publicity effort to hide the fact that that's happening, officially confirmed who's playing Superman and Lois Lane.
We got the Superman names now.
So after months of audition tapes and screen tests, they finally settled on actors David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan to play Clark Kent, Superman, and Lois Lane. The screen test took place over 2 days. On the first day, the 3 contending male actors were put in Clark Kent costume, and the 3 contending Lois Lane actors were put in Lois Lane costume, and they were all paired up with each other. Interestingly enough, Brosnahan and Corenswet were not paired together during the auditions. On the second day, the male actors were in full Superman getup, and they only brought back one of the Lois Lane actors to read with them.
Yeah,
and it ended up not being the one who was cast, which I think is
that's kind of weird.
Again, the screen tests were done faster than usual because of a potentially impending Actors Guild strike.
Right.
So Corenswet beat out finalists Tom Brittney and Nicholas Hoult for Superman. Brosnahan beat out Emma Mackey and Phoebe Denover for Lois Lane. So I've never heard of Tom Brittney before in my life.
Yeah, I haven't heard of
Nicholas Hoult. Definitely the most well known of the Superman contenders. He was most recently he was Renfield in Renfield.
That was a movie.
He was Beast in the later reboot Fox X-Men stuff. He was in The Menu.
He's really just not.
He auditioned to play the Batman in Matt Reeves' Batman movie.
That was a good choice. They
lost out that role to Robert Pattinson, and has now lost out on the Superman role. So he's now lost out on both Batman and Superman.
He'll come back as Beast eventually.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I don't know. I don't know.
He'll do it when
It seems that the Fox X-Men stuff that they're multiversing for Deadpool 3 is like the early on stuff. Like Kelsey Grammer back when he was playing Beast. So he'll probably come back. But I don't know if they'll bring back Nicholas Hoult. Maybe they will if Kelsey Grammer just doesn't want to... A 78-year-old man doesn't want to cover himself in blue fur makeup. What are you texting right now, Sam?
I'll text my friend.
Mm-hmm. It's not very professional.
Well, we got a lot going on right now. There's big moves being made.
Yeah. Nicholas Hoult, I know a lot of people were for him. I didn't. I don't even think... He
does not fit the vibe, I don't think.
He probably can play Superman okay, but he's always playing like a dweeb and everything. And I feel like if he was playing Superman, he'd be like the dweeby-ish Superman we've ever seen.
Well, yeah.
Like Beast is a dweeb. His character
he's very much a nerdy guy. Yeah.
Like he's like a little wimp, and like he plays Little Wimp really well. But like Superman, probably not.
Unless he like really bulked up, then maybe.
David Corenswet, not a big actor. His most major film role was he was in Pearl, the Ty West X prequel, which I have not seen.
I don't even.
Although on all accounts is very good. He was also in the Ryan Murphy Netflix series Hollywood.
All right.
So again, I mean, unknown actor, but like that's not even close to the first time we've cast a complete unknown to play Superman.
Yeah, I mean,
Christopher Reeve was a Broadway actor.
I mean, casting unknown actors is like that's fine. Like I don't have a problem
Brandon
with that.
Routh was also an unknown. Henry Cavill had done movies.
I mean, that's how you get
when he was cast, but he was not a big star. Obviously.
A lot of times, the most definitive versions of characters are like from unknown actors.
Well, I think it's good when you want to do an unknown because then, like, when people see them, they see that character. Like that was Christopher Reeve. Christopher Reeve just was Superman. Like you saw Christopher Reeve that he was Superman. He wasn't the actor Christopher Reeve playing Superman. He was just Superman. And same with the RDJ in a lot of ways, where people just saw him and he was just Iron Man. Brosnahan, who's playing Lois Lane, beat out Emma Mackey, who most people will probably know from Sex Education, the Netflix show, and Phoebe Denover.
I watched like the first 2 episodes of that show and it was really, really bad.
She's the main girl in that.
I know a lot of people like it. I thought it was
I know it's got like 4 seasons. Phoebe Denover was the other contender for Lois Lane. She was in Bridgerton the first season, another Netflix show. She was the main female lead in that. So now that they've cast these 2 roles, they're going to move on to starting to cast the other major roles in the film, which include Lex Luthor. The shortlist for that includes Alexander and Bill Skarsgård for being up for that role, and Nicholas Hoult.
Why did Bryan Cranston go like so anti Lex Luthor when like people were like fan casting him?
I get what he's doing. I get why he was upset.
But he would be a good Lex Luthor. It's not just because he's a bald guy.
That's okay.
It's because he played a very famous, very like close to Lex Luthor type villain on a TV show for several years.
I get that, but most people on Twitter who were fan casting him were fan casting him because he played a bald guy.
But I think he actually could be a very good Lex Luthor.
He wouldn't fit this.
He basically played like, but Lex Luthor's kind of old sometimes.
But so Bryan Cranston's like 60-something.
He could make it work. Lex Luthor's not doing action scenes. He's just a rich guy that pays other people to do stuff.
Like, you don't want to make it look like Superman's bullying an old guy.
But it's an old guy in a robot suit, so it's fine.
Oh, imagine the universe where Bryan Cranston plays a bald Lex Luthor running around in a mech suit.
That's what Lex Luthor always does.
So Nicholas Hoult also in contention for Lex Luthor after losing out on Superman and Batman. He loses out on that role.
Man, Nick's just cannot get wins when it comes to superhero roles.
Maybe he can be like Barry Allen. He could be Green Lantern or something.
Oh, did you see the Ezra Miller, like a lot of those like charges were dropped?
Yeah, he put out some sort of weird apology letter.
And did you see like why a lot of them were dropped?
I don't.
He still like did the things that he was accused of, just like not in as bad of a way as everyone said. Like he still like did the chokehold on that one lady. It just wasn't exactly the kind of chokehold he was accused of.
Seems unwarranted. He should get out of jail free.
That seems like the best solution.
Yeah, so he's also going to start looking for Jimmy Olsen. He's going to be in the movie.
The Superman Adventures show also just came out. It's not picking him up, so it's fine.
Yeah, so looking for Jimmy Olsen as well as certain members of the Authority who are going to appear in the film.
Yeah, I don't care about that at all.
So he said that it's been confirmed that the movie will take place in a universe where other superheroes already exist, and Superman's just like emerging, which I don't.
That's fine with me.
And we're back.
All right, we are back, guys.
Took one of our famous day-long breaks.
No, that never happens. Are you wearing this? Is that the same shirt you were wearing yesterday?
No, it's a different shirt.
Oh, I think I'm wearing the same shirt. I'm trying to maintain continuity over here. All right.
Yeah, sure. That's why.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on today.
He has 4 shirts.
He does have the 4 shirts.
Let's see.
What shirt was he wearing last week?
So many shirts back. We can go.
Come on, video. Oh,
okay, so he was wearing
A&M
2 podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anyway. We were talking about Bryan Cranston being Lex Luthor.
Right, and how dumb that is an idea.
I think it would be cool, but he is kind of old.
No,
did you see he was in the new It's Always Sunny episode?
Yeah, I did.
That was a good episode.
Let's see. Didn't love the ending. Anyway, Jimmy Olsen, Sam. Who do you think could play Jimmy Olsen? Chris Rock?
Chris Rock would be a funny Jimmy Olsen.
He was almost Jimmy Olsen.
I don't know if he would be Jimmy Olsen. I think he's a little old.
No, I don't know who would be Jimmy Olsen.
Oh my gosh, Charlie Day.
Too old.
No, but that'd be so funny though.
He's 50.
If he was like a weird crackhead version of Jimmy Olsen.
Except for he'd have to be like 17 years old.
Just make him old. Just make him like an old guy who's like still an assistant.
Also casting the Authority. I think I was probably talking about how I don't love the idea that there's other superheroes like in the DC universe before Superman gets there.
I'm fine with that. It makes why would there not be superheroes before?
Well, because he's supposed to be like the prototypical like cape and tights hero, and then everyone else. Like,
yeah, but he wasn't the first superhero.
Pretty much was.
Yeah, in real life, yes, but I'm talking about like in the DC universe. He's not.
Was
the Flash Gordon was the Flash way before Superman got to Earth.
Flash Gordon,
or not Flash Gordon, but the Jay Garrick Flash was like the Flash before Superman was there.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think that's true.
That is definitely true.
He definitely didn't. He wasn't created before.
I'm not talking about real life. I'm talking about in their universe.
I don't think that's true either.
There are absolutely characters that are older than Wonder Woman was like 1,000 years old before Superman was even born.
She was alive, but like she wasn't like running around as Wonder Woman.
She was during World War I. Superman was not there yet.
Like in actual like comics continuity, she came around after him.
No,
but also
she didn't.
The Authority is supposed to be. See, okay,
I don't care about the Authority at all.
The thing about the Authority is that they're a riff on the Justice League. So like, I don't know how they're gonna do the Authority in a world where the Justice League doesn't exist.
Maybe the Justice League will exist. It just won't have Superman on it yet.
I doubt they'll do that.
Why? I mean, why not?
Well, who would be on the Justice League?
Just take the Justice Society and just put them on the Justice League.
I guess you could do that, but no, like
that's another group of superheroes.
No, but like
before Superman
like
got
on
there.
the Authority, there's like Apollo and Midnighter who are just Batman and Superman. So like, are they gonna be in it? Because they're literally just those characters, but slightly different and meaner.
I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Other stuff. The film won't show Superman's origin.
Okay,
at all.
That's fine.
Makes sense.
We already know that.
Gunn also confirmed that DC Studios will not make an appearance at Comic-Con this year, but probably will next year.
Yeah.
Oh, again, also makes sense. Everyone else is noping out of Comic-Con. Because they revealed this casting already, I don't think they'd have anything to announce anyway.
They could announce how terribly The Flash is doing.
They could be like, wow, guys, look at all the money we lost.
Look at how much this is failing.
The most embarrassing news story they've probably ever encountered. It passed Birds of Prey in box office, Sam. It took 3 weeks to pass Birds of Prey. It also cost like $150 million than that. All right, want to move on?
Yeah, let's talk about.
You're interested in this.
Let's talk about the MCU.
Right. So the MCU you all know and love is of course the Marvel Cinematic Universe, right?
But there's a new MCU on
There's
the
a
block.
new MCU in town, and he's about to be the number
They're
one guy.
about to pop off.
So beloved American toy, are they American? Beloved toy company Mattel, all right? They're entering the film and TV game. Their first project is, of course, going to be Barbie, which hits theaters in about 3 weeks.
Yep.
And they're expecting that to be such a massive hit. It's going to launch the entire universe of Mattel toy movie adaptations.
What other toys do they have?
So internally so they formed their own like studio internally called Mattel Films, all right? And they are currently developing 45 different projects with Mattel brands.
So they have a Word document with 45 names on it.
So Sam, I mean, they just have, these are the biggest brands on the planet. Look here, Barbie, Hot Wheels, Fisher-Price, American Girl doll, Uno card game,
Hot Wheels,
Mega Bloks.
Hot Wheels could be cool. It would just be Fast and
they've
Furious
already
with,
announced
like, kids.
They've already announced 13 of the projects.
Kooparoos.
Wait a minute. What if the Fast saga ends, right?
Mm-hmm.
No more Fast movie.
Yep.
Dom Toretto lives on
The Hot Wheels.
to do a Hot Wheels saga.
Most of Mattel's
He
toys.
returns.
Most of Mattel's toys are just toys of kids' TV.
That
shows
is correct.
That are already so they're just gonna make them toy versions.
No.
My Little Pony, but they can't move legs.
Out of the
Me,
Out of the couple they've announced, Vin Diesel is going to do Rock'em Sock'em Robots.
What? Biggest misstep of the century.
Okay, here's how that movie.
Which I guess will just be real steel, but
with Vin Diesel,
no, I think
instead.
it'll just be an hour and a half, maybe even 2 hours of just.
Max is
You
doing
guys
the
can't
punching
see,
sound.
but Max is air punching.
It's
right
air
now.
punching.
It's
But
gonna
they wouldn't need to exhale because they would be robots.
So just be this.
It'll
Wait,
just
do
be
you think
two emotionless
do you think
robots
Vin
hitting each other.
Diesel will play the robot, or it'll be like exactly like
he'll
Real
play
Steel?
like the guy who builds like his own robot, and
It'll
he's
just
the
be Real
underdog.
So it'll be exactly like
It's
Real
gonna
Steel.
no.
Real
It's
Steel.
what else do you do with fighting with robots that box?
You just have Vin Diesel play the robot.
I mean, they could do that, but it's not like
Well,
the
they might-
story. would
You know
be
the
different.
movie. You know the movie Robots.
Yes.
Do that, but instead of like doing like a rebellion, they like box.
No, this is gonna be live action. Sam.
They might,
Yeah, just do it like
they
super
might
realistic.
do like.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
true. They
it's-
might do
That's
that.
blank.
No, it's just gonna be the movie Real Steel,
Yeah, this looks lame.
and Vin Diesel
don't
will
care
either
about
play
that
the
at all.
mechanic who made the robot or the robot itself.
That movie will flop.
I mean, it's not actually gonna get made. J.J. Abrams is gonna produce a Hot Wheels movie, which he described
Nice.
as dark and gritty.
So it'll just be regular Fast and
I
Furious.
guess.
Okay.
Daniel Kaluuya is creating a modern theatrical adaptation of Barbie the Friendly Purple Dinosaur.
Is that different than regular Barbie?
No,
Is that a
Barney.
different-
Barney.
Oh, Barney.
Barney.
Oh, I did see that. Like someone said that it was. He said it was
Yeah,
gonna
it's
be
gonna
like
be
for
like
adults.
It's gonna be like adults, and it's gonna be like dark and realistic.
Yeah. So guys,
Gonna be a race relationship.
I can't believe I'm the one that has to tell you this, but Barney is like a kid's brand. That's not like a thing adults care
Looking like
about.
this over here.
Yeah, Barney's gonna come out of magic portal.
Barney's gonna be doing some.
Gonna eat some
Max,
kids.
you gotta show the camera. They're not gonna know what you're saying over
Barney's gonna
there.
So Tom Hanks is gonna star as Major Matt Mason in a
Ooh.
film,
Who is that?
which is an obscure like action figure brand from like the 70s.
You know what? I think that one.
I'm guessing that was like their G.I. Joe.
I that one might be able to do well, just because if you just make like a regular war movie and like just stick that name
See,
on it.
you know
like,
what the
no one would
problem
know
is
that- no one
though
would know
is
that it's
Major
not.
Matt Mason is probably an action figure, and Tom Hanks is a 75-year-old man.
Okay, well, Major Matt Mason sounds like a guy who would be 70 years
Tom
old.
Hanks will just. I tell
Oh yeah, they could do that. They could do like What if they just do Forrest Gump again?
I
But
actually think it would
he's
be
an action
cool.
figure. This
So
time.
are there-
You know what would be cool is if they did the whole thing, like, okay, so Tom Hanks was telling it, and then they did imagining it in his imagination. So it's just a bunch of literal action figures, like fighting.
So
each
it's
other.
like that weird movie with Steve Carell where he's like a claymation guy or
Like
whatever.
the-
that
Welcome
movie
to
was.
Marwin.
Like the Lego
Yeah, that
movie. Like, but they actually do.
Like the Lego movie
I'm
with
pretty
all the
sure.
different toys.
I'm pretty sure on like their documents for what each movie is gonna be, they all say like the Lego movie at some point.
I think they're just gonna make small.
It doesn't. You know what? Okay. By the way, projects that are also developing with no one attached to them so far. They're doing He-Man and the Masters of the Universe again.
They should have probably started with that one.
Polly Pocket.
Okay.
Thank God.
The Viewmaster?
Oh my gosh!
The that thing where you look into the thing. Oh my gosh,
and
that's gonna be
the little film.
No, that's gonna be a multiverse thing.
No, it's gonna be a horror movie.
No, they're gonna let him like see into other universes.
Sam, of course, that's gonna be a horror movie where you look at the viewfinder and it shows how you die.
That's just the movie Polaroid.
So do it again.
They made that already.
You know, horror movies are like the least original genre ever. Like half of them are the same.
Sometimes a small thing kills
you know how many we found a magic evil item and it tells us how we all die movies there are?
Several of them. But you know how many of those are viewfinders?
Speaking of, they're already doing one of those. They're going to do a Magic 8-Ball horror movie.
Hey,
that's going to be rated PG-13. They said it won't be rated R.
Oh, so just
it's going to push the boundaries of the PG-13 rating. No.
Does Mattel own WWE?
I think they own the toy license. Mattel CEO Ynon Kreiz says he wants the company to become an IP powerhouse, model after the success of movies like the Lego Movie and Transformers. The Lego Movie,
it says right there.
No, you know what I don't get?
You know, Yanon's gonna be crying when he figures out this was a horrible plan.
There's so much stuff that was like, the Lego Movie's a big hit. Let's try to do the Lego Movie. The Lego Movie was a hit, but it wasn't huge. It only made $468 million worldwide.
That's a lot of money, though.
The reason that movie was a big hit, though, is because it cost $65 million.
Well, yeah.
But these aren't going to cost 60. You really think Mattel is going to be smart enough not to spend $250 million on the He-Man movie?
I don't know. How much does a He-Man cost?
It's going to cost a lot.
How much did the first one cost?
In the 80s?
Yeah.
Oh, that one was super cheap. Because it was made by Canon Films. But it was also the most expensive movie they had ever made at the time, and it still bombed.
Well, you know, you win some.
Masters of the Universe back in 1987, starring Dolph Lundgren, cost $22 million.
Wasn't Arnold Schwarzenegger in a He-Man movie?
17.3 worldwide. You're thinking of Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, right, because those are different somehow.
So, but Sam, listen to these brands. All right, imagine a whole cinematic universe of Agent Zero, Angelina Ballerina.
Oh, well, we had a VHS of one of those.
Apples to Apples.
That's not even a, how do you?
Mega Blocks.
Just the Lego Movie, but like a
Bob
knockoff.
the Builder.
Still the Lego Movie.
Common Threads. Chatterphone.
What is Common Threads?
Probably some Pants board game.
Pants board game? What are you saying right now?
Dose, which is the sequel to Uno.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Guts. I'm just reading a list of brands.
Concept of Guts.
Imaginext. No thoughts on Imaginext?
So just more Mega Blocks? Like, what do you want me to think about that?
Apparently Mega and Mega Blocks are two different things.
All right.
Monster High? I'm pretty sure,
that
wasn't that already a thing? Didn't they do that on Netflix or something?
They made some made-for-TV Cartoon Network Monster High CGI movies.
Yeah.
It was kind of like that, you know that Ben 10 CGI movie? It was kind of like that.
My Very Own Puppy?
So just a regular dog?
Rainbow Magic?
I've never heard of that.
Pulsar, the Ultimate Man of Adventure?
I've never heard of him.
Saucer Scramble?
You're saying these things like I should know what they are.
I'm just reading brands. Skybusters, I'm guessing that's sort of like an airplane toy. Shogun Warriors.
Where's the Beyblade movie? Who owns
Spin
Beyblade?
Welder.
Hasbro owns
Stinky
Beyblade, right?
the Garbage Truck.
Stinky the Garbage Truck.
Thomas and Friends.
How do you make a Thomas movie?
I'm pretty sure they've already done that.
Yeah, but I mean like a big budget live action one.
Whack-A-Mole? What about Whack-A-Mole?
How do you make a Whack-A-Mole movie?
The moles have attacked Farmer Joe's farm, and he's got to home alone the moles
away. So it's
away.
not Roger Rabbit.
Peter Rabbit?
Yeah, the Peter Rabbit movie, but they're moles now.
They're moles now. What a list of brands.
What a list
of amazing
powerhouse IPs.
This is a big. I can't wait for the Fisher-Price movie.
Yeah, I'm thinking conceptually this was a terrible idea, and this guy should lose his job quickly before he runs their company.
Well, they already started development on 45. 45.
Okay, there's no way they've actually started development on those. They have a Word document with a list of projects they want to do.
What they did is they took all of their brands and then they listed them in order of like how much
of most potential success
to least potential. And for some reason, I'm like, some of this makes sense. Like top of the list, Hot Wheels. That will probably
make money.
Barney, yeah, I guess.
Not if it's for adults though.
He-Man,
huge misstep.
He-Man has
He-Man is like
He-Man's been up and down throughout its lifespan, though.
Well, okay, they did kind of extremely.
They did that cartoon show on Netflix, and that made all of the He-Man.
They did the
fans
She-Ra
upset.
one, which everyone liked. Well, all of its fans liked. The He-Man fans didn't really care about.
I don't think anyone. I think half the people who watched the She-Ra
the
show
Steven
didn't
Universe
know
fans really liked it.
Yes.
Then there was the CGI one.
Right,
which I think is still going on.
I don't think anyone.
I think it's just like a generic kids show.
Yeah.
It's just like kind of beating me.
And then they did like the one for adults.
The one that was a sequel to the original cartoon.
Yeah, Kevin Smith
where they
did
killed him off in the first episode.
So apparently they prioritized Rock'em Sock'em Robots, Hot Wheels, Barney. You know, if Viewmaster was like a number 9 on the list, like that, you're not working with anything past the number 8.
Yeah, maybe that's where you should just. Maybe that's where they should have been. All right, guys. You know what? This was all right idea, but I think we gotta just call this here.
45. Like that's such a stupid idea.
Yeah, there's no way that more than two
of these are gonna get made. The Vin Diesel, Rock'em Sock'em Robots, and the J.J. Abrams. Although I don't know if the Hot Wheels thing will ever happen. J.J. Abrams for like the last 5 years has just been signing deals with companies and then
never doing anything,
not working, and just
Is he still working for DC? What's going on with that?
He still has that DC deal. Apparently, he's farmed like $50 million out of that company, and he's produced literally nothing.
How is he making money from that?
Why do you think they're $55 billion in debt?
I guess
because he walked in one day and said, "Hey, can I have a couple $1 million?" And they went, "Sure, J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, here you go.
You made Star Trek Into Darkness. That's enough for us."
That's all we need to hear.
No, James Gunn did say that they were literally just handing out IPs to like whoever smiled at them.
Well, that seems like a good business model.
That's how The Rock got Black Adam. That's how J.J. Abrams got all the Justice League Dark characters.
That's so weird. I have no idea what they're doing over there. Anyway, what's up next? What's we got?
That's all the news we have.
That's all the news. Alrighty, then. Let's get into.
Well, you were here. We weren't here for the first 3 news.
Let's get into the Indiana Jones and the Deal of Destiny. We got the hat. We got the hat this time for the effects.
Yep. Just happened to be here.
I hated this movie.
All right.
It was terrible.
So, Sam, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. It is the 5th and final Indiana Jones film.
Maybe final.
Can I do the
Probably
this time?
definitely final now.
Well, definitely final now, but it seems like we'll get into it. But it seems like they maybe wanted to make more.
James Mangold directs from a script.
I do the plot synopsis
by John Henry Butterworth and Jez Butterworth, who did Ford v Ferrari, who scripted that movie. He also worked on the script, and so did David Cope, who did Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Good, that's good. Like all the Indiana Jones fans like that.
Opened a $60 million 3-day opening weekend here in the U.S. It cost somewhere between $295 to $325 million.
That's a reasonable budget.
So very bad box office opening.
I don't
lower than Crystal Skull was back in 2008.
I don't understand how they spent this much money on it. Like after seeing the movie. Like, it looks good. I'm not saying it looks bad.
I have an idea.
But I'm just confused as to, like, where the money went.
So, it's the first movie not to be directed by Steven Spielberg, which is always a good sign. Sam, what did you think of Indiana Jones?
Honestly, I didn't hate it. I thought it was all right. It was pretty fun.
Same.
They were, like, the chase scenes were cool. I like those. Those were good. Like, what's it? Harrison Ford was like surprisingly engaging.
As a person who has seen, I think, half of one Indiana Jones movie, what did you think?
I've seen the first 2, and I've seen the end of the third one. I didn't see. I've seen the whole third one. We did watch the third one at one point. I have not seen Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I have no intention of watching it. But I think this movie was like. Say it's on par. I'm not a huge Indiana Jones fan, so I'd say like it's on par with the other ones.
Max,
I think it's all right.
You've seen none of them. Did you have a freak?
Say this movie.
So where would you rank it?
Rank this.
A tier? Okay.
Well.
All right.
Other
out of the movies we've seen this summer, where would you rank?
That's a completely different.
Probably A tier.
Probably A tier.
Because,
yeah, you know what? Honestly, compared to most of the other stuff we've seen this summer, this movie's actually pretty good.
So
like this one, you could go and take your mom.
Okay. Like, if I took a date to see this movie, I wouldn't be embarrassed. If I took a date to see like The Flash, I would be embarrassed.
Yeah,
Beast, like Rise of the Beast, I would be embarrassed.
Okay, anyone who's taking a date to Transformers,
no, but like I'm saying,
you deserve to.
If you just go into the theater and you're like if you and like the girl you're on a date with just go, like there wasn't a whole lot of planning, you just went to the theater and you just picked a movie that was playing. If you picked
worse
this
than
movie,
Indiana Jones.
If you picked this movie, you'd probably both have a fun time.
Okay, I'm the only one who's probably like a fan of Indiana Jones.
Very recent.
I've seen all 4. Well, I've seen the first 3 like a couple of years ago. First time I watched the 4th one was a couple of weeks.
The first time I saw Temple of Doom was in Mr. Levine's car.
None of them are bad. So this joins the franchise. It's officially a franchise with no bad entries. I don't dislike Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
What about when the nuclear bomb goes off?
It's okay.
He's in the refrigerator.
I actually did watch.
I think it's just very mediocre.
I watched one of you build a Indiana Jones Lego set. So
what?
Is that an equivalent?
What words did you just say? What did that even mean?
I seen
what? Okay.
So my general thoughts on this movie is it's decent story-wise. I don't love what they do with the character of Indiana Jones.
The ending is super weird.
The ending is weird. And the whole movie is about 30 minutes too long, I would say.
Yeah, there's a lot that they could have maybe trimmed down.
The strangest part of this whole thing is I thought that action sequences were the weakest part of the movie.
I thought they were pretty good.
So it starts off, and this is in the trailer, so this isn't really a spoiler.
Yeah, on the train.
It starts off with the digitally de-aged Harrison Ford, and it's this giant action set piece that like starts at a Nazi base and then just moves to like a train, and then the train blows up, and then it's this whole thing. And immediately they hit you with that, and it looks okay in parts, but I don't know what it is about the digitally de-aged faces, but it's this way in which they like shift across the head of the person. Yeah, they move
too much.
They move independently of the rest of the person.
No, I think they just move too much. Because there was like, okay, when they first introduced, when they pull the bag off his head and you see Harrison Ford,
it looks okay.
It looks okay, but his eyes are moving like a lot. Like he's looking around at everything. And I'm like, dude, what? You good?
It's almost as if like his face is moving at a different speed than everyone else's.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that, and it's very obviously old Harrison Ford's voice coming out of.
Was that Harrison Ford or was that a different guy?
I think it was a stunt double that they CGI'd his face over and then he dubbed.
Because there were scenes where he's like running around and it looks like old.
I'm pretty
Harrison
sure
Ford.
there's set photos of a stunt man doing that scene. So I am pretty sure it was a stunt guy, and then they just grafted his face onto him,
which is fine. I think if you're gonna do that, that's probably smarter.
But I don't know if it's the whole sequence, because there's parts where he still hobbles around. Like
because when they're running on top of the train, he's like almost limping a little bit.
He's hobbling.
So I was like, that looks like old Harrison Ford.
But I'm sure that whole shot was CGI. I don't even think there was probably any real stuff in that shot at all.
My guess would be that they weren't sure if it was going to be CGI Harrison Ford at one point. And when they rendered that scene out, they had rendered it with old Harrison Ford in mind.
I think that whole scene just generally goes on. I think
it does go on a little long.
All of the action scenes just keep going, and they all go for way too long, and they're all like really generic.
I thought the train one was okay. I just think that like the tension is good, but like there's just some like moments that are just like, huh?
I felt like I was watching the Polar Express.
Yeah,
because it's a big train at night, and like it's old timey, and there's a cartoon man.
I like how that like Gatling gun that was on the train just like kills everyone on the train.
Yeah, there's some neat parts. I just thought the whole sequence in general didn't come together, and I didn't really think it had like a purpose in the story.
Well, it was to introduce the
okay,
relic.
one, it's the Mads Mikkelsen is in it. He plays the villain, like the evil Nazi scientist, and he's at the start in the flashback sequence. And they digitally de-age him, but like not nearly as much as they do Harrison Ford.
Yeah, he looks older.
So it's weird when they cut to the future where Harrison Ford has aged
a lot,
40 years, and Mads Mikkelsen is just like grown a couple gray hairs.
Yeah,
even though he got hit in the face with a big pipe.
His head should have exploded. He should not be alive.
I was expecting him to come back with like an eye patch or like a big scar on his face or something.
At the very least, he should have been like. Had some sort of facial deformity to show that like he was injured.
Yeah, he's just fine.
But no, he's perfectly fine. After so they were on this train, right? This train's going at least 100 miles an hour,
more than that,
and a pipe just boom smashes into his head and like knocks him
off the train.
And he falls off. We assume he dies, but then in the future he's like fine, and he looks totally normal, and he sustained no injuries from that.
It's like having an MLB little back.
And then you being perfectly
just
having no lasting.
I did like that character though. I did like him as a villain. We won't give away the twist. That's kind of his motivation.
I don't know if I liked him as a villain for a couple reasons.
Okay.
One, he's so freaking dumb. Oh my god,
he is not the smartest man.
Stupid. Yeah. No, he's like chronically
even
dumb.
Though he's supposed to be like a Nazi scientist.
He's supposed to be like this super schemer who's like outsmarting Indiana Jones at every turn.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, a character goes, "Are you a Nazi?" And he goes, "No, my name is Schmidt."
Yeah, he's like, "I'm Jacob Schmidt from Alabama."
And then later on, he's like, "I fooled you. My name isn't Schmidt. I am actually a Nazi." And I was like, Did he think he was fooling? He has like a thick German accent.
It's very obviously
a guy named Schmidt. No, what are you talking about?
I am not a Nazi.
I did like the scene early on in the hotel room where the waiter comes in.
Yeah, he's
to,
talking to like the custodian guy,
and he's just like talking down to it because the waiter is black, and like so he comes in to like bring him his food, and like all the Nazis in the room are like looking at him. Like with malice.
Yeah, the vibes are off.
They have there's like a really good exchange of dialogue that I do think sets up his motivation later on, in like a kind of cool way where he's like talking about how like the Nazis didn't win the war,
lose the war, Hitler did,
which sets up the twist later on. So I thought that worked well, and the fact that he worked on like the space race mission,
which did happen,
which did actually happen. The American government did actually recruit Nazi scientists to work on that. But the whole start, there's the train sequence, which again I don't think establishes that the villain had his plans ruined by Indiana Jones
in the past, yeah.
But that doesn't go anywhere later on in the movie. Like they meet up later
it gets
on,
to the point where neither of them even like really recognize
neither of them remember each other. So I'm like, what was the point of that? Then?
And
like
again,
you expect him to come in and be like, Indiana Jones, you ruined my plan, and I want revenge. But he's just like, who are you?
And the main relic of the movie is a time travel device.
It's the dial of Archimedes?
Antikythera, something like that. Antikythera. I think it's Antikythera. Because it has antique like as part of the root word. But anyway, my assumption was that because it's a time travel machine, that the version of him that we saw at the beginning of the movie was going to be the end of the movie. And
where he comes back.
Yeah, I thought it was going to kind of like loop around, which I was like, okay, that could be cool.
But spoilers, I mean, there is time travel. Well, okay, it's obvious.
But this is a spoiler that this doesn't happen. So, spoilers, they don't do that.
Yeah.
And so this villain just makes no sense.
Well, like, you get why he's doing what he's doing.
No, I'm not saying...
But it's weird that they, like, attempt to establish a connection to him and Indiana Jones and then just chose not to go that direction.
Yeah, they just didn't, like, follow through.
Which makes the entire opening, other than introducing the dial itself, which they go into detail on in the movie anyway, they don't really need to have that whole... I guess they need to have a big Indiana Jones action sequence, but I feel like they could have toned it down and probably done something a little lesser.
The reason why I enjoyed the opening sequence is, one, I mean, it's just, like, fun. Like, it's just a cool scene. And two, it kind of gets you back in the, all right, Indiana Jones, he's back. He's doing Indiana Jones things. And I was like, all right, I'm getting into it.
90 years old.
Like, because the movie very much works in the fact that he is old and kind of like forgotten in this modern era of the late 1960s.
Yeah, he's like past his prime.
So I feel like they could have done something like a really small thing where like maybe it doesn't open with the big Indiana Jones action sequence and it's just like him trying to get to work to kind of like have that contrast of...
That would be lame.
People would think it's lame. I get that they would never do this, but I feel like that would have worked better for what they were going for.
Narratively, yeah, it probably would have worked better, but...
Because I also don't think they tackle that theme in like a really direct way.
I think they do, because there's the whole like retirement scene where he's like...
Again, they do.
Where like people
set it up well, and then I don't think it ends in the strongest place with that whole arc.
Okay, all of the like Professor Jones stuff goes nowhere.
Yeah.
Like all of this stuff that happens with Indiana Jones at the beginning of the movie, like before he like leaves and goes on his adventure, all of that goes nowhere. Yeah. Like so I guess spoilers.
I do like the part where he's like a grumpy old man who gets a bat and has to like bang on his neighbor's door.
Yeah, to get him to turn.
I was like, this is what I want more of in the movie.
But like and I guess kind of spoilers, but like it very early on in the movie, he's framed for murder.
Yes.
And at the end of the movie, it goes nowhere. Everyone just forgets. They never
bring it up again.
Well, no, characters bring it up throughout the movie.
They're like, you're framed for murder, Indiana Jones. And then at the end,
it goes nowhere.
He faces no consequences. The police aren't really chasing him.
He doesn't prove that he's innocent because, spoilers, I guess, but his enemies are not around at the end of the movie. They've gone somewhere else.
Well,
they've gone. I'm not spoiling anything. They're not around. I don't know. It's just why did they?
A lot of odd stuff, and you can.
But okay, they could have just not done that.
Yeah,
they could have just not had that be part of the story.
I think that's part of the whole patchwork script. This movie has like 4 credited screenwriters, and you can tell like probably the first draft had that as like a central core component.
Yeah, that was like a main.
Someone else came in and didn't really like that and wrote their version of the script, and then someone else came back in, brought that element back up. Like that's the problem with having just like a script that's just been rewritten for 15 years. Because it's been 15 years since the last Indiana Jones movie, which is partially why this movie's not doing well at all. But again, back to the action. I thought the movie just kind of like kept jumping from action sequence to action sequence. But
the pacing is very fast. It's very fast. Even though the movie's really
long,
though it's really very
long,
fast-paced.
Which is because the action scenes just go on. And
I think every action scene is probably twice as long as it needs to be.
And it's especially noticeable because Indiana Jones doesn't do a lot of the action.
Except for at the very beginning.
A lot of what he does is just to drive cars. Most of the action scenes are someone else getting punched while he drives a car.
Well, again, to be fair, he is also 80 years old now.
Really dumb when he's fighting.
Exactly. So if that's the case and you can't do as much action, cut down on the action. But it's
focus
the fact
on
that they
other
decided
stuff.
to like really focus on that, even though they have a lead actor who can't be doing that kind of stuff anymore. Like they needed to kind of age with their audience and maybe slow down it, focus more on like the adventure and the artifact and like researching and puzzle solving. But they only do that a little bit. It's still a lot of just like generic car chases.
The artifact of this movie is kind of dumb.
Yeah,
it's the first one that's fictional
that they completely made up.
Like all the other artifacts in Indiana Jones movies do have some basis in like real world artifacts. Like the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant was a real historical thing. Whether or not it's still around now, we don't know. It's missing in real life.
The Holy Grail.
The Holy Grail, same deal.
Same deal.
Jesus drank out of a cup. We don't know where it is.
Magic
if it's still around, it's probably
Temple
somewhere.
Of Doom.
Okay, the Temple of Doom is more of a place.
The crystal skulls are technically real things,
but whether or not they are actually like real historical artifacts
is not
up for debate. Although don't tell what's his name, the guy from Ghostbusters,
Dan Aykroyd.
Don't tell Dan Aykroyd.
Don't tell Dan Aykroyd that.
He's
in Temple of Doom.
He's real into those.
He has a cameo in Temple of Doom. Dan Aykroyd.
There were no crystal skulls in
because he was friends with Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
But the dial of Archimedes, which is like the actual, artifact in this movie, is based off like some weird clock-looking device that they discovered like 20 years ago in some like old ancient burial site that was like 100-something years before.
There was a machine discovered, I believe it was in Rome.
Yeah.
That we believe as of now to be some sort of ancient computer or like counting device. We don't really know what it did.
So that's what
because it was so
this.
heavily decayed that we can't really tell what it was supposed to do. That's what inspired this. Although Archimedes, I don't think built the one we found, or we have no.
That's all made up. But Archimedes was a real guy, but like he didn't build like.
Archimedes was a real
guy. He didn't build like super advanced clocks, and it's kind of a spoiler to reveal exactly what it does, but.
Also, what it
kind
does
of
makes
stupid
no
and contradictory.
Sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
It contradicts its own lore. Like almost within like 15 minutes, it contradicts what it does.
Yeah. So Sam, there are people who like this movie, and there are people who hate this movie.
I don't really understand.
And the people who hate this movie, it's for really one particular reason, and that is Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character.
Her character does.
Elena Shaw. What did you think of her?
I think I understand what they were doing with her, and I think what they did with her character was actually pretty smart.
It makes sense. I get what they're going for. I don't think it all comes together.
She represents Indiana Jones in his early days, like Temple of Doom, like kind of a scumbag. Yeah. And I think to some degree that works because we have the contrast with modern day Indiana Jones, who's all about just researching history and he's lived down that road, so he knows like, hey, you don't want to do this. Your life will suck if you do this. Trying to help you out, and she's like, no, I want to do this instead.
She even comes with her own
she has her own like child sidekick
who has no point of being
he does the same thing Short Round does, which is like
drive the car,
menial tasks in the background.
He
drives a plane.
He has one particular story purpose later on.
Yeah, he knows how to fly planes.
But other than that, like, he doesn't have like a notable. I don't even remember.
He's like
his
Short
name.
Round. He just like
what is his name?
He had like a regular kid name. His name was like Tim or something, or Ralph.
Keep talking. I'm trying to find his name.
But I feel like their chemistry was a bit weird because she was like actively trying to kill him like for a large portion of the movie.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like actively needed his help for a lot of stuff. So like their dynamic was not very clear. And
she's just kind of mean to him.
Yeah, she's just kind of overly mean sometimes, I think. Which
again, part of her arc is learning not to be mean, but the other part of her arc, which is like being an archaeologist, not to make a lot of money, it's to like preserve history, right? Yeah, that's the lesson Indiana Jones learns in Temple of Doom, and she learns to be nice, but she doesn't learn the second part.
I think they were leaving that open to future movies.
If they would ever bring her back, which they won't now.
Yeah, probably not now because this movie's not doing well. But no. Honestly, I don't have a huge problem with her character. I think what she represents makes sense. I can understand why people are mad about it, and I can to an extent understand.
I understand some of it, but the other half of it is just, oh no.
To some extent, women. I also understand like the BuzzFeed like article aspect of it. It was like, oh, they only hate her because she's a woman and she's mean. It's like, yeah, I mean that's kind of true because Indiana Jones was also mean, and no one really cared when he was mean.
The people who just make 10 videos a day of whining about feminism in front of their action figures, they're mad because it's a woman. But like, I can see why people would be upset that like Indy's main companion in this movie is just super mean to him the whole time. Because it also feels bad because it's like he's an old man.
You want to see him.
It feels like elder abuse.
You want to see him like happy, and you don't. This movie does have a happy ending, but you don't get to see a lot of him being happy.
No, you really don't. And I think that's the main reason that like a lot of people are conflicted on this, is because Indiana Jones is such like a positive character generally, and Crystal Skull, despite all of its faults, is a very like happy movie,
like optimistic,
that leaves him in like a really nice place, and this movie just picks up and everything in his life
turns out everything went bad actually.
So I can feel why people are upset about that, especially since we'll get this into more of this in spoilers, but his like the stuff that's happened to him in between Crystal Skull and where we pick up with him is the exact same thing they do with Han Solo in The Force Awakens.
Yeah, it's exactly
copy-paste the exact same thing.
Save for one specific detail, but other than that, literally the same
it's the same thing. So it's not only like it's gonna probably make some fans upset, it's also just incredibly lazy.
Yeah, because we already did
we just did
with
this.
a character who
played
is,
by Harrison
for all
Ford.
intents and purposes, the same guy. Harrison Ford will disagree with that, but they are the same guy.
But speaking of Harrison Ford, he is really good in this.
He shines. He does a very good job.
He's obviously having fun. It's great to see him back in the role, even though he's a little bit more dour this time. It's just great to see like classic Indiana Jones stuff where he's like running from like country to country.
That's the thing. This movie
keep making up with all his old friends. Like that's fun.
This movie did a good job of having that classic Indiana Jones.
It does capture a lot of the feel. Like physically, I don't think the tone is quite the same.
The tone is different, but there are a lot of reasons that the tone is different. But like the like sort of classic Indiana Jones adventure. Like that's all there.
So I'm trying to think of anything else I have thoughts on. What'd you think of the John Williams score? Maybe his final score. Was it? It didn't stand out a lot,
but
I thought it was.
It did what every good Indiana Jones score should do, which is sound kind of like Star Wars, but not quite. Every time I hear an Indiana Jones soundtrack, because I don't know if John Williams did this on purpose, but there's a lot of sections that are literally the exact same as Star Wars sections. He scores a lot of movies.
He's getting up there. I wouldn't be shocked if he was just like...
No, even in the first... If you go back and you watch the first Indiana Jones, even then there's some like riffs that are almost exactly the same as Star Wars. And there was a part at the very beginning where like the Nazis are loading up the train, and the music goes like dun 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 dun. And
I did notice that part.
Almost goes into Star Wars, but then like slightly
deviates.
Which that's my favorite part of Indiana Jones. It's always Star Wars, but a little different.
I was kind of shocked that they didn't use the actual Indiana Jones.
Yeah, they never played the whole theme.
He only ever threw a couple of notes in.
Like there's a part where he's running and it plays like the very beginning.
Yeah, when he's running on the train at the very start, it's just like. And then
it immediately changes.
It's weird that they didn't and it's also just like a weird time to be playing it. I felt like he used it in kind of weird spots.
There was no big Indiana Jones.
There was no point where
big
Indiana Jones moment throw into the theme. That never actually came, which I was kind of not like a straight up criticism. I just thought that was kind of weird. Other weird stuff. They showed the Disney logo just straight up at the beginning of this.
Well, Disney owns them now.
I didn't see that come, but they don't do that on Star Wars. They always just put in the Lucasfilm logo. I found it weird that they just straight up put
I thought
the
they
Disney
did.
logo.
I thought at least for episode 10 they did.
I don't think so. Well, episode 10 is not a real movie.
Episode 9, you know what I mean.
I don't think they did.
This is so bad, we're going to put our name right on it.
Yeah. They also flashed the Paramount logo, which they're not even involved in this. I don't know why that was there.
Maybe they had to for like licensing
Probably some
reasons.
contractual obligation.
Oh, but it was weird that they have distribution rights?
I think they just have some... I think they have distribution rights to the original movies.
Yeah, so I think they just have
to. So they probably had to put that on there. But it's weird that they flashed the Paramount logo, but they don't transition from the Paramount logo into the movie, which is a thing in the first 4. Like the Paramount Mountain always transitions into the movie. This one they transition the Lucasfilm logo into the movie, and it's just really weird. I mean, and awkward.
That's fine, whatever. I don't care that much.
You know what I was also shocked by is a lot of the start of the movie deals with the space age and how this is the bold new era, and it's kind of making
all this stuff in
Indiana Jones
hometown.
Classic Indiana Jones is kind of becoming irrelevant because we're moving in. Everyone wants to do space, and space is the
no one cares about the past. It's all about the future.
That never comes back in any real meaningful way. They don't really do anything. There's the Ticker Tape parade at the very start.
I think they just needed the parade as a set piece.
But other than that, it doesn't
going on.
Which, and I don't know if this was mangled or just the CGI or what. I always felt some sort of dissonance in between the action sequence and the actual place it was set in.
I don't know if it was the way the effects they used,
or
the way it was filmed, or the green screen, or if they used a volume. I don't know. But yeah, Indiana Jones never looked like he was actually there.
No,
it always looked like him and maybe 3 other dudes were in a place, but it wasn't that place.
And I think it's a problem it's a thing in a lot of modern movies now. I think it's just the fact that in the old Indiana Jones movies,
everything
is so real, and so to have an Indiana Jones movie that feels like it's more of a modern blockbuster and doesn't have that practicality, that physicality.
It's missing something.
It's missing that visceral element that really grounds those movies.
And why couldn't you spent $300 million? Why couldn't you have have rented out a street corner
just
and done a
do
parade?
A studio backlot? And I think it's because they wanted to have this scale be so big that it's
an adventure
throughout the whole city.
The scale of the parade isn't that big. The actual parade part, they do go through the nooks and crannies of the city.
Yeah.
But the parade part is not that big. They run past a couple floats and I think a band. Well, that's pretty much it.
But I did like elements of that sequence. He rides a horse through the subway, which I thought was going to be really stupid.
But no, it actually
in the trailer.
Is
but
cool.
It actually looks pretty nice.
In the movie, it's cool. In the trailer, it looks dumb.
And it's got a fun little bit where where he's hold my horse. And
the guy's
that's
confused.
the kind of stuff that was okay, that's Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
That's that feels like a modern Indiana Jones movie. It's it's the stuff later on where they're driving cars forever and whipping stuff that feels why are we still doing this?
The scene that takes place in the place where they're trying to when what's her name when what do you call her, badger, raccoon?
Yeah, wombat.
Wombat. When like Wombat's like trying to sell the thing in
they're
auction,
at like a Moroccan
everything that takes place in that
whole
place,
area,
I think, was kind of off.
It all felt weird.
The guys that were chasing them down felt way too modern. Like they just talked totally normally, like perfect English, even though like they're obviously supposed to be like foreign or not. I mean, foreign to us. They live in wherever they are, but like they speak perfect English.
Yeah.
Like all of the weapons they have are very clean. They dress very nice. They drive very nice cars. It didn't feel like a.
There's
like
also that whole thing where like
place.
The leader of the mob is like
engaged to her.
Is like engaged to her, and he's like, "Oh, you ghosted me," and I'm like,
okay, that's a very Indiana Jones thing to do, though.
But I'm like, this is like a modern circle. Like this would not be a thing in the 60s.
I think Indiana Jones would have done that though. Like promised to marry some woman that he like wooed in his journey and then like bailed. I feel like that's a very Indiana Jones thing to do. And I feel like most of the things that she does, if you examine them in like a micro scale, they all seem like, oh, that's a very Indiana Jones thing to do.
Just one more quick note. I do think for, we're getting a lot of these legacy sequels, the 30 years later bringing back an old character. This one does get points for not just being filled with like constant member-berry nostalgia.
Yeah, there were
inserts. There's really not a whole like any at all.
The only like member-berry type stuff is a couple returning characters.
Right, Sala comes back. He's in the trailer.
Yeah, there's and he really has like no.
He has no real purpose other than just Sala is here now.
He just goes, "Hello, Indiana Jones.
It's nice to see.
Remember when I was here? Okay, bye."
And I like the part where he comes in and he's like, "Oh, Indy helped me move to the United States, and now I have my big happy family." I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
like catching up with characters who are like in a good place.
It felt naturally integrated into the story.
And at the end, I did kind of feel bad. At the point where Indiana Jones is leaving for the airport, and Sala's like, "Take me with you. I want to go on an adventure again." And he's just like, "No, bye.
You're too old. Bye-bye."
Like he's the same age as you, Indiana Jones.
He can do adventures.
He can do everything you can,
but he has more to lose.
But I know I criticized earlier on for the action sequences in Indiana Jones kind of just driving the car during them. I do like the stuff in this where he's like puzzle solving.
Yeah, that's all very cool.
That I felt like, okay, that's something he can actively do. Let's lean into that more. He's like, they
did a good job of making Indiana Jones seem like a smart guy,
and he has a purpose. Like he's not just like the old guy we're dragging.
He was very often driving the car.
Yeah,
but they did a very good job, I think, of integrating their real world, circumstances with the circumstances in the movie.
Yeah,
like. It's not just that in real life he's too old for the scenes. In their universe, he's too old to be doing this. Like when he tries to climb the cliff, he can't do it.
Which
is
why I think there's some level of dissonance when like he's jumping from car to car. I'm like,
that only happens maybe one. That only happens one time, and when he does do something crazy like that, often he suffers like an injury, and like there's immediate consequences for that.
But I really like him in this. I think he's I think it's worth seeing. Just to see Harrison Ford playing Indiana Jones and having fun,
a thing he likes.
Which is a thing he very rarely ever has doing any movie or just kind of being alive generally.
All right, let's talk about spoilers.
Well, before we do that, would you recommend
Indiana Jones? I would say like maybe an 8 out of 10.
I'd say, I'd say it's...
Compared to everything else we've seen this summer, I think like 8
yeah, of everything else right now, I definitely put this over like Transformers or
The Flash, better than Transformers, way better than The Flash.
The Little Mermaid.
Way better than Little Mermaid. Not as good as Spider-Man, but nothing right now.
I would recommend Indiana Jones.
If you've already seen Spider-Man and you want to see another movie,
Max,
Indiana Jones.
What about you?
Sure.
Max says yes.
Is yes. Okay.
Right. Well, now we're getting into spoilers.
Oh my god, the ending was so dumb.
Okay, here's the thing. So
why was the ending so dumb?
If you haven't seen it and you just don't care about spoilers, at the end they put the dial together.
There's 2 halves,
and the dial leads to a time rift in the sky.
Yeah, there's
and
a Fortnite rift in the sky.
Fortnite rift, and they end up in
like ancient Rome.
They end up in ancient Rome,
maybe Greece,
in 212 BC, when Rome is getting invaded by the Greeks, right?
Yeah.
Which a lot of people at that point, I feel like you're either going to be in or out.
Yeah.
Like you're either going to buy that or it's just going to completely take you out of the movie.
I feel like at first, when they first got there, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. But I was operating under the assumption that they would try to leave immediately. But then they don't. And they stay there.
They stay there for a very long time.
Stuff, and they do stuff there that makes no sense at all.
Here's my main problem. Okay, one, Indiana Jones doing time travel. If this was the fourth Indiana Jones movie, that would have thrown me out. But in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, he meets like trans-dimensional aliens.
They've already jumped
or nuked the fridge.
They've already nuked the fridge.
So like, I didn't mind that element that much. It's the fact that when we go back in time, we're cutting to perspectives that aren't theirs. Like, we're cutting to Archimedes, like, doing Archimedes stuff.
Yeah, and he doesn't do anything.
I felt like if we're going to go back in time, you have to keep, like, the focus on the people who went back. So it feels like we're in the wrong place.
Well, and the only perspective of a past human we see is Archimedes.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do anything.
It's just really weird.
He's just like running around while the city is collapsing. And I'm like, what?
Why are we focusing on again, this that's guy? More of the stuff where like, just cut that out.
Yeah, we didn't need that.
Cut out 20 minutes. Just cut stuff like that. But yeah, I also feel like the time rift itself could have been like not just a big like white hole in the sky. So the whole movie, the German scientist, right? He's like, the dial doesn't work like magic, it works using math. And I'm like, okay, they're gonna time travel with math. And so they get the dial, and the dial just tells them where to go to get to the big magic time rift.
Okay, so in real life, gravity distorts time.
Uh-huh.
So let's let the movie play around a little bit. Let's assume maybe Archimedes discovered, certain gravity waves can make time holes.
Sure.
That's a mathematical way of explaining how that could maybe happen. And then so he built a device to calculate when and where those time holes would be based
just happens
on
to be
the
one
waves
during the movie.
That's fine. However, since Archimedes has been alive, Einstein actually discovered that gravity and time mess with each other. Archimedes did not know that. Why didn't Einstein be like, hey guys, we got time holes like right over there?
It's also weird because they say that the time hole only goes to 212 BC in Rome.
No, okay, that was a little bit... Okay, so I want to talk about that for a second. So the villains are trying to use it to go back to when...
back to World War II so that
they can kill Hitler.
Because Voller wants to kill Hitler because he thinks
he can be a better Hitler.
He likes Hitler's ideas, but he thinks he can run the show.
He thinks better. Hitler's bad at doing Hitlering, so he wants to be Hitler 2.0.
Which I was like, okay, that's set up.
Okay, weird,
kind of interesting. Sure. It works. I'm fine with
interesting take, but go off, King. I guess not really. He's a Nazi. We don't like that.
He just got canceled.
But so he's trying to use it to go back in time and make the Nazis cool. So he does all the math and he puts this thing together and he's like, all right, if we go to this time hole, we'll go to this time. And Indiana Jones goes, no, because Indiana Jones is bleeding out on their plane. For some reason, they like took him with them for some reason, even though logically they should have just killed him. But they took him with them for some reason. And he's like, no, you dumb idiots. The freaking continental drift. Archimedes didn't know about the continental drift, you dummies. How's the time hole gonna work with continental drift? And then they fly through the hole. And I guess Indiana Jones was kind of right because they didn't go to the right time. They ended up in Roman era. But then later on, about 20 minutes later, Wombat goes, it was a false flag. Archimedes did plan for it to come here. And then if that's true, and he did know about continental drift, and so Indiana Jones just like,
or there isn't any continental drift involved at all,
or continental drift isn't real. One of those two things. Either way, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and also the Nazis get killed while stuck in 212 BC.
Yes, like they immediately die.
So Indiana Jones, if he had just not gotten involved,
they would
have just killed themselves because they would have never been able to go anywhere but 212 BC.
They probably would have killed themselves faster.
Killed anyway. So I don't. So
Indiana Jones wouldn't have been impeding their progress. They would have died faster.
Doesn't really do anything.
If he had not been here, it would have been the same.
They would have been the same result.
Which is a common thread with Indiana Jones.
Yeah, if you could make that argument for really Indiana Jones
as a whole,
3 and 5. So, or in really 4. No, actually, in 4 he helps the Russians. So,
but yeah, and then there's a part where Indiana Jones, like, he's like, I want to stay in the past.
Well,
I thought that was like, okay, he spent his whole life studying the past. The world is moving past. They're going in the future. He's all about the past. He wants to stay. Okay, sure. But then he doesn't.
Well, that's driven by the fact that Mutt Williams, his son from Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, died off screen fighting in Vietnam. And because of that, he was so sad. Him and his wife were so sad that Marion divorced him and left, and that's why he's sad and depressed and alone at the beginning of the movie. And it's it's the fact that, one, Mutt Williams as a character, I get why he's not in this, why they couldn't put Shia LaBeouf in this. I was kind of shocked that they just straight up...
They could have, like, done a cameo,
They straight up killed him off. Like, he's just straight dead. That kind of surprised me, where it's like...
They could have just said he was, like, still fighting.
I expected them to be like, oh, he's off in Vietnam. That would have been like, okay, sense. Yeah, that makes sense. But it's the fact that
not had him divorced.
They're just like, no, he's been shot and killed.
He died, actually.
He's dead. Shia LaBeouf is dead, and he's never coming
back. And Indiana
back.
Jones doesn't even, like, go to see his grave or anything. There's like, nah, he's
No,
gone.
It doesn't start with that. It's happened in between movies.
Yeah.
And his wife leaves him in between movies. Marion is only in this.
She's so overcome with grief
at the very end. Yeah. So to get to the point where the character is just willing to bleed out alone in the past.
No, Archimedes was there.
With none of his friends or family and just be forgotten. Like, that is really sad.
Yeah.
Like, that character is at that point.
That's
and the
what
fact
he wants to do.
He doesn't leave willingly.
No, he, like,
she has to knock him out to get him
drag
back.
him onto the plane.
Like, I feel like that would have worked better if he chose not to just kill himself and die in the past alone. Like, it would have been a more optimistic message, I think, if he like thought about like he has left to live for, and he has friends, he has family. He's stopped trying as a person. He needs to start trying again, and he chooses to go back.
But no, he is just forced
he has to be forced to return. It does work for Helena's arc, where she like actually cares about him.
She's like, I have to not be terrible.
You can't be here. You don't belong here. You're gonna ruin time.
Yeah,
you're just gonna sit here and die. We got to take you back. Like, that part works. It would have been way too sad, though.
I think it would have made a little bit of sense. Like, he spent his whole life studying the past.
Now he becomes
part of it. Yeah,
but I feel like as a character,
really sad.
He has to reconcile with like his problems.
Yeah, he has to like do.
And because the whole movie is about how he's past his prime, this is a world that doesn't need him anymore. To have him just be like, well, I guess they don't need me, I'll die. Like, that's a terrible message.
Yeah.
So I just felt like I was fine with that happening if it's just the fact that he doesn't choose to come back.
Yeah,
that's the part that I don't like. But him getting to like really actually experience history, which is like his whole life's dream,
is cool.
That's cool. It's just that one element I don't like. And again, it resolves Helena's like half of Helena's arc.
Yeah.
Which
and then he gets back home and he wakes up in his room, right? And he wakes up and he's walking around, and his wife comes in with groceries. And she gives him a hug, and I guess she doesn't care that her son's dead anymore. She's got over it.
Well, they're reconciled.
She's like, I'm over it. He's
both working.
I'm chilling. And then she goes, Indy, are you back? And he doesn't respond. But I was like, what? Are they setting us up for more? What does this mean?
If he had chosen to come back, that would have worked. Because like he's saying, yeah, I'm back. I'm going to start like trying to live again. I'm going to like make my life mean something. I am back from my depression. That would have worked.
But he says nothing.
It's the fact that she just goes like, are you back? And then he says nothing. And it feels like, oh, are we doing more Indiana Jones adventures after this? Like, what are you setting up? What does this
mean?
What is this? And then it just ends.
Remember when the CIA was involved?
Yes.
That one random CIA agent.
Who the Nazis kill?
Mm-hmm. Why was she in the movie?
I don't know.
Remember when
I don't think that happened.
See, because I felt like in one draft of the script, like the CIA and the government being after him was probably like an actual element.
Yeah.
And then later on, they just dropped that, and it was just like the small little
one
group
agent,
of Nazis.
and then he was wanted, but then not really.
And,
oh yeah, and when he gets back into the future, and like his wife is back and all that, they just forget he's wanted for murder.
Yeah, they just forgot.
The police don't care. He's not like in jail.
Nah, he's fine. They
The
cleared
FBI
him.
forgot.
He's good. He's all good now.
The astronauts are back. You can't be accused for murder when the astronauts are back.
They're in the space. What? Who cares
Who
about
cares
murder?
about murder when you can go to space?
No, and then at the end, they do a reference to that one scene on the boat from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
They do?
Yeah, where she's like here, and then they're kissing.
Oh yeah.
That's from Raiders. And then Solid.
This time they're
Except for this time, he did not get a blowjob. Remember when he uses that as an excuse to get a blowjob?
I don't think that happened.
Yeah, he does. He does that, I think, in the second one. I don't think he does.
I think you're thinking of a different.
No, in the second, in Temple of Doom, she's like, "Where does it hurt?"
Marion's
like,
not in it.
I know it's not with her, but it's in a different movie. He's like everywhere but here, and then she's like, "What?"
That's from.
No, that's the different thing. No, that does happen.
No, that didn't happen. But and Solid comes back, and Helena's there, and I half expected Short Round to show up,
but he doesn't.
Why
didn't he show up?
I get why.
I don't.
That like they didn't. Well, okay.
Is he alive?
Is he alive?
Did he die?
That's my question. There is 5 Indiana Jones.
Short Round
movies.
is his sidekick from the second movie. It was like this little Asian kid that followed him
It's
around.
Ke Kwan from Everything.
Yeah.
It's Temple of Doom is the first movie in this series canonically, and he is never mentioned.
What happened to him?
In the 4 movies that take place after.
Where'd he go? Is he alive?
He has to be dead, right? Like he has to be dead. But it's not that they never mention him.
But we never see him, and he's never mentioned again.
And he was like a little kid.
Even Indiana Jones doesn't mention him.
Did Indiana Jones just abandon him and then leave him?
Did he just forget?
Like he has to have died.
Maybe he just got hit on the head really hard and forgot.
He forgot about
him somewhere.
No,
because like Indiana Jones carries the weight of like the people that that he's lost.
Like, remember when Antonio Banderas is in this movie for 5 seconds?
and then his friend gets murdered, and he's like, "I'm sad, my friend died."
He's doing the Puss in Boots voice.
Yeah, that was weird.
That was weird.
But
that whole diving scene was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was a bit odd. But then Indiana Jones is like, "Dude, my friend just got murdered, and you're making jokes." And she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize you cared about your friends." But like, how come he never brings up?
They just left his corpse on that boat too.
Well, what did you want them to do with it? Carry it around with them?
I don't know. I just felt
like Bumblebee.
The boat exploded.
At the bottom of the ocean.
Also,
now.
yeah. Also, the boat had. They blew it up with dynamite. Remember?
I'm just saying.
What are you saying?
What are you saying? You're saying what?
He died, and then they never mentioned him again, and then they left.
It was weird that there were Nazis on it.
It was weird that they never mentioned him again. Like, it's just that one scene immediately after.
Too bad I lost my buddy. It's just like, hey, he's dead.
And then they're like, all right, well, anyway, we got a job to do here.
Little short round two got kidnapped.
Why did he get kidnapped? That was another scene.
We're saying short round 2 only has one purpose in the story. It's so that he can fly the plane to get them out at the very end.
Yeah, because when he gets kidnapped, like, he frees himself. Like, that doesn't even go anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, just cut that scene out. Why was he kidnapped?
Yeah, he drowns the big muscle man in the river or whatever. Also, there's a big muscle man in this, and at no point does Indiana Jones have a fist fight with him.
Well, I think because Indiana Jones would lose.
Or Helena Shaw.
I think she would also immediately lose.
I know, but like in all 4 Indiana Jones movies, there's always a big muscle man that he has to like punch.
Yeah, but I think
so. It's weird that they put
arm if he
It's weird that they put the big muscle man in it, and no one fights him. That's what I'm saying is weird. Not really. They just kind of like tumble off a
Also,
bridge.
they did the map wrong. The line's curved. They're not supposed to do that. They're supposed to go straight and be dashed.
Do they do the line thing?
Yeah, they did it one time.
But you're right. But they're not flying a plane. I think they're on like a boat.
Yeah.
For the line thing, which is also weird.
Which is also wrong.
Yeah.
And the line's curved. They're supposed to go like that.
Sam did not enjoy the line. That was one of those things where it's like, oh, it's Indiana Jones. We have to do.
We got to do the thing.
They got to do the map thing. Even though in Raiders of the Lost Ark they did that because it was cheap.
Now they do it.
Now it's a thing we have to do, and so now we have to spend millions of dollars computer animating that.
Okay. How is it even cheap? Because like you could just cut to where they go. You could just cut to the next scene. How is that more expensive? How is that less expensive than just putting
probably
text on
because
the
the
screen?
script said, and then they fly the plane there, and like, okay, well, put the thing, and then
It'll be boring to watch them sit in a plane for 2 hours.
Just put the transition. Anyway,
I really wanted to see 2 hours.
but as a conclusion to Indiana Jones as a character, I
think it's okay.
This could have been better, but it's okay. It's not as bad as it could have been, especially since this movie has been in like different creative stages of turmoil for a decade.
Is how I would have altered it a little bit.
Better than
one, have it so he's not divorced. Because why did you do that?
I would have liked it if Marion had actually like come along for the adventure.
Yeah, have her be in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Two, don't make Mutt dead. And here's how you don't make him dead. You have it so he is fighting in Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of the movie, he comes back, and they're at the airport to see him, and you see like the back of him in the movie.
Then you don't have to put Shia LaBeouf.
You don't got to put Shia LaBeouf in it, but you know, like he's around.
Yeah.
And then Indiana Jones is happy because his family's not dead. You know.
Uh-oh, we got a text message.
Papa was asking if we want to buy fireworks.
That's fine.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
That's all about the thoughts I have.
That's all the Indiana Jones.
Max is homeless.
Max says he's going homeless. I don't know what that means. But okay.
All right.
You want to talk about Asteroid City?
Yeah. So that's our thoughts on Indiana Jones movie. We're somewhat positive on. Oh, I wanted to touch on why do you think this movie is bombing so hard?
Because nobody.
So a $60 million opening. That's
because the current generation does not care about.
It's about $50 million lower than Crystal Skull was, which came out 15 years ago. And if it cost less than $300 million, this would have been not great. It's the fact that budget is so like ridiculously high. That's the problem.
So in order to, I think, explain why I think this movie isn't doing well, I want to compare it to Star Wars. Okay?
Okay.
So last we saw Star Wars before Episode 7. We had Episode 3.
Mm-hmm.
That
was in 2005.
2005, yeah. That was a movie that people were equally like, some people really hated it, some people thought it was fine.
Yeah, I'd say the reception to the prequels was obviously like extraordinarily vitriolic.
Yeah, most people absolutely hate it. Much like the last Indiana Jones movie before this one. Everybody hated it.
Same. Although I'd say they hate the prequels.
However, Star Wars had Clone Wars.
Yep.
Which came out in between Episode 3's release and Episode 7's release, which not only served as content to give the fans something to watch, but it also did wonders for the reputation of Star Wars as a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana Jones doesn't have anything like that.
Indiana Jones didn't have anything at all.
Nothing came out for Indiana Jones. Like, we didn't get any video games, even though they announced one like 5 years ago.
There weren't any comics.
We didn't get comics. We didn't get a show. We didn't get anything.
Nothing.
Disney did nothing
audio
with that.
drama, a podcast,
nothing.
A retrospective video series on you. There was nothing on
Indiana Jones was effectively completely dead for 15 years.
Yeah.
So if I'm a kid and I'm born
in 2008,
when Indiana Jones whatever came out, and I go my whole life kind of knowing that this character exists, but having no real emotional connection to him at all.
He has no pop cultural presence at all.
Unless your dad is like really into Indiana Jones, then you probably don't care at all. And then this movie comes out, and you're like, "Oh,
why should I care?
I don't know that. I know Transformers. I'm gonna see that movie." Like that's what you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Because most kids now don't know, they don't care or know who Indiana Jones is.
Kids don't care. This is a franchise for people 45 and over.
Even I basically have no emotional connection to Indiana Jones.
Like I like Indiana Jones, but I'm a weirdo. Like no one else, remotely in our age. Like the Max,
he's really weird.
Max is the primary, right? Like Max is like a normal kid.
Would be the average, yeah.
Max is a normal youth. Max, do you have any, other than the fact that we made you watch this, do you care about Indiana Jones at all?
Would you have seen this if we did not take you to see it?
I remember seeing the little Lego piece of Indiana Jones. Our big Lego.
Yeah, we had 2 Indiana Jones Lego sets.
That is the most connected I was.
And that's another thing. They did Indiana Jones Legos and video games when Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out.
Nothing.
And they didn't continue that.
There's not even any Legos.
There was nothing. There was literally nothing for
No, there
15
are
years.
No,
they brought them back. They did bring them back.
Did they bring them back or did they make new sets?
They made new sets, but their new sets are a lot of remakes of old sets, just with modern.
That's dumb.
And they made a new minifigure.
I I wouldn't have.
Yeah, like they didn't do another Lego game of all 4 movies.
Well, I probably would.
Yeah, again, like there's young audiences don't care. The fan base is not energized because they haven't been.
There's been no content.
There's been no content for them, and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull was not
bad.
a beloved movie.
No, people.
So they already had brought it back almost 20 years
later.
later.
Faith in the franchise was at an all-time low.
Yeah, and
there was no content.
And then it went to sleep, and that was it. So it's weird.
The franchise effectively pooped itself and went into a coma.
Yeah, and so it's weird that they thought that they could just like chill out on vacation, drinking beer and like smoking weed, and just did nothing for 15 years.
Compared to Star Wars pooped a bed and then spent like a couple years cleaning it up
trying
a little
to
bit.
trying
and
to
they organized the
brand.
poop, make a little castle out of it so it looks pretty, right? Like, they tried to do something to fix it, right? Indiana Jones just
nothing
was gone. Yeah. Disappeared.
Oh, dog's trying to get in.
It was just not a thing that anyone cared about.
Yeah,
for
so
decades.
it's weird that they thought we'll bring this back without George Lucas, without Steven Spielberg. We'll spend $325 million to make this.
You know what though?
Drop it in the middle of a very crowded summer where everything else is already underperforming, and then just it'll rack in the money like that.
I think they were counting too much on the name. I think they had too much faith in the name. I don't think they really.
And you can see that in the marketing.
Yeah,
the marketing was like, a legend of cinema returns, and I'm like, kids do not care.
Yeah, I could make a
legend of
Citizen
cinema.
Kane 2. He's
yeah, no one would care about Citizen Kane 2. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
And also, you know, Indiana Jones as a character was never like a deep or like highly characterized.
I think he's a man
person.
out of time. I think that character just is for a time that's not here anymore.
He's Action Man. He's 40 serial Action Man.
Yeah, and that time is gone.
And time is gone. Nobody remembers.
Without the cool action thing.
Yeah, he can't do the action anymore. And you know, everyone who remembers movie serials is either 80 years old or dead. So
Mr. Levine, who's the only one.
The two people who don't go to the movies: old people and dead people.
Hey, old people do go to the movies, just not this movie.
And the key reference point is when we went to go see this. We saw it Thursday night at like 7:40 p.m. in the PLF screen, right?
Yeah.
That should be the crowdest theater.
Now, okay, there was a decent amount of people
there. Was a decent amount of people.
When we first got there was no one in there, but we also got there like 20 minutes early.
Yeah. But everyone in there was probably in their like early 40s to above.
And it was a dead theater.
And there was no reaction to anything that was happening.
Like during Transformers, when like big action scenes happen, people were like, "Yeah!" People were like laughing at the jokes. Like,
well, I think that's also because that was a bunch of 5-year-olds in there.
Yeah, again, it's because
no, but even in Spider-Man, like people were laughing at the jokes. People were like cheering, or like when we saw even Little Mermaid had like little kids like
they were
saying stuff. Like this theater was like I think
there was
the
nothing.
most dead.
And again, I think that's just because older people are like less enthusiastic about seeing movies.
But if we
it's weird that you would make a movie that only tailors to that demographic.
Let's contrast with Top Gun Maverick.
Right.
That franchise arguably more dead than Indiana Jones. Mm-hmm. You think there's no content for Indiana? They didn't even make like stickers for Top Gun.
I wanted to bring that up. But you know the thing about Top Gun Maverick is one, it's an extraordinarily positive movie. Like,
yeah, it's true.
It's like Indiana Jones at the start of this is in a bad spot. Maverick is in just as good a spot as Maverick has ever been in.
Yeah, he's never been in a bad spot.
No, he's just one. So that's one. Two, there was only one Top Gun movie before that,
and people have very.
So people didn't feel like they had to do homework to go see Top Gun Maverick. If you want to experience all of the Indiana Jones lore up to the new one, you have to watch 4 movies.
And like a serial.
And for most people, they just won't do that. That's too much of a chore.
Remember the show?
The Young Indiana Jones Chronicles? You know, every episode of that show is an hour and a half long.
That's too much.
Yeah, because they aired in 2-hour blocks.
You remember that one episode where he's got to get like his like Native American friend's pipe? Is like they have like a sacred pipe they're trying to get, and they like hide from these grave robbers like in the Native American dude's house.
In one episode, he meets
and
Dracula.
Indiana Jones pulls out a saxophone, starts talking about his deep love for jazz, and then the grave robbers break in, steal the dude's pipe, and the dude's like, Indiana Jones, they just stole my pipe, and he's like, hang on, I'm not done, and he keeps playing the saxophone and keeps talking about his deep love for jazz, and never gets back to the whole his friend's pipe was stolen thing. That's a real episode of that show.
Yeah, no, it's that, and then I would make a bet that 70 to 80% of the people who saw Top Gun Maverick, especially the younger people, have never seen Top Gun.
No, and you don't need to have seen the
No, you don't. And that's the thing. No young person is seeing this not having seen at least one of the other.
You have to be
aware of what's happening.
There's no draw for you if you haven't. Like, okay, the Top Gun Maverick has the full power of the like American military propaganda behind it. Like, if you're aware of like the U.S. Army, then Top Gun is the movie for you.
And that movie also had like a lot of like young, hot, cool actors in it.
Yeah.
And this one doesn't.
No one's getting all hot and heavy over Indiana Jones' like flabby.
Even Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is like 42 years old. Like, yeah. That even she's not like a hip, cool young actor. It probably would have done better if Pete Davidson was in it.
Honestly, I think it needed Pete Davidson.
This movie, $30 billion.
So
immediately in their box office.
And then the main difference between the two is that Top Gun Maverick is just a better movie. So I
don't know if that's true.
I think that's true.
I think this one had more. Yeah, that's true. It was way shorter,
and it was more fun.
It was more fun, but I don't necessarily think it was better.
I think Top Gun. I don't think it's controversial to say that Top Gun Maverick is a.
I think it does a better job of being fun.
You know what movie was better than?
What's that, Max?
Plane was great.
So I think we're looking at this summer where like it's just been like big franchise bomb after big franchise bomb, and I think a main reason
Spider-Man did good.
I think the main reason that's happening is that we've gotten to a point where we've been milking the same franchises for over a decade, and because of that, we've racked up so many movies consecutively that they're all becoming inaccessible.
No, but even the original projects had like no interest. Like Teenage Kraken and Elemental both had like no
Teenage Kraken was obviously a massive marketing failure, and even Elemental.
Yeah,
I'm not saying this. I'm not saying this applies to every movie. I'm saying like Transformers that underperformed. It's also the 8th Transformers movie.
Yeah, we've seen Transformers before.
The MCU movies have been underperforming. They're 30 some odd movies into that. This movie, it's the 5th one, and it's been around for 40 something years. Like, I think that is a key reason why these big franchise tentpoles aren't working.
Yeah, when was the last time?
Mission Impossible, they're on Mission Impossible 7. They're on 7. Like,
when was the last time we got a lot
of homework to do?
A popular original franchise?
John Wick, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's.
Outside of animation, because animation tends to
does tend to pop off more often.
Yeah,
but
in terms of like live action, like actual big budget investments in original properties,
I think it's really like just.
It's probably just been John Wick. I mean, I think Knives Out. You could make an argument for that.
Knives Out, maybe.
But that's more of a mid-range.
And you can't really tell because they keep releasing day and date.
Because the last one was on Netflix, and so who knows who watched that. Netflix has been spewing out a lot of like big original hits.
Yeah, but no one cares.
If Extraction 2 had come out in theaters, no one would have seen it. It's the fact that it was on Netflix. That's the reason 11 million people watched it on Netflix, and probably 1 million people would have watched it in a theater. So I think that's what's happening here. Is people don't want to take risks on original stuff with their own money, right? And they've been burned out by the franchises. So there's nothing. What do they do?
Honestly, I think ticket prices are just too high.
That's another component.
I think people are strapped for cash right now, and they don't want to pay $17 to go to the theater.
And they're gonna go. If they're gonna go, they're gonna see
movies
stuff
that they know
they're gonna really like. And
like your Spider-Mans and your Guardians of the Galaxy.
And generally this summer there hasn't been any.
You don't want to spend $60.
Yes, I am telling you that.
What are you, dumb in the head?
Yeah, and again, the main component on whether or not a movie is successful is it good? And there really this summer has been 2 movies I would say are really good, and then a bunch of mediocre stuff, and then The Flash.
Yeah, Guardians was good, Spider-Man was good,
and then everything else I would take it or leave it.
Everything else was kind of because everyone's kind of tired of Marvel stuff.
Guardians was slept on when it came out, and then it had really good legs.
Yeah, and
I think a lot of people were talking about how good that movie really is.
But a lot of my friends didn't really enjoy it because they didn't care about the Guardians that much. I like the Guardians a lot.
I'm highly biased,
but for people
it's a 10 out of 10 for me.
For people who weren't as invested, because most of my friends who saw it didn't see the first 2 Guardians movies; they had skipped them.
That's weird.
And I'm like, go watch them. They're
really good.
Why did you watch this one and not those?
Yeah,
ones?
That's weird that you would do that. I can see a lot of people who like only watch Avengers movies.
Because this movie,
they were in Avengers in Endgame and Infinity
Guardians
War, and then
3, I would argue, is only as good as it is if you get the full story.
Oh, of course,
if you understand the character arcs.
Yeah, it's a trilogy. It's a long character arc for Rocket Raccoon, and if you're not familiar with the first 2/3 of that,
well, I mean, not even just Rocket, but like you're not going to understand any of Star-Lord's
or Nebula,
what's going on with him, or Nebula's character arc is also pretty complicated.
Yeah, I mean, Nebula, I would say you have to watch Endgame to fully get her.
I mean, same with Gamora dies.
Gamora, you're not even going to know what's going on.
Yeah, you have to watch that.
I don't know. I would say Guardians did well though. So I wouldn't. Guardians was one of the few movies this summer that actually made any money.
Do you really want to talk about Barry and Asteroid City?
Yeah, we saw Asteroid City a couple weeks ago.
It was really good.
Well, I'm not going to get in depth. I'm just saying it's coming out on digital like this week, which is stupid. But if you're interested in it, I would say check it out. I'd say it's worth it.
What's it coming on to? Where's it going?
It's just going to like PVOD, like rental sites. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's one of his best movies. And also, if you're not a Wes Anderson,
although it is
fan,
his highest opening ever,
it was his highest opening ever, which was $9 million, which is like not a whole lot, but it's a lot for him. But if you're not a Wes Anderson fan, this is not gonna like convert you to him. But if you enjoyed some of his movies in the past, I would say this is about as good as a lot of his other movies are.
Yeah, I didn't see this one.
Sam didn't see this one. And if you only know Wes Anderson from TikTok memes, don't watch this. Should I stop? Is that not what they're
people
called?
don't usually say memes. Like
we're not doing memes anymore.
No, memes still exist, but no one says TikTok memes.
Like TikTok trends?
Basically what I'm saying is
the Wes Anderson thing was a trend where they would like film like a day in their life as like as if it was a Wes Anderson.
Yeah, if you only know it from that, mostly filmed by people who've never seen a Wes Anderson movie, this is a different thing.
Now they did those cuts where it's the still shot, and they did that a lot. You know that. You know when he does that.
They discovered the snap zoom.
Yep.
All right.
Are you talking about Barry also?
Yeah, I know I'm months behind on this. Max, we've only been here for an hour. Stop flipping out.
Max is crying.
Max,
I'm going to talk about Oshinoko next. You can weigh in on that.
Yeah, I'm a couple months behind on Barry, but I just watched the last season, and I just want to say, probably one of the greatest TV shows ever made.
Is that the serial killer one?
What?
Is that a serial killer one?
It's with Bill Hader. He plays a hitman.
How do we go?
I don't know what you're asking.
I don't know what you're doing, and I don't have time to address it.
Are you saying she put a T-shirt on and you're mad about it? Okay, Max. Thank you.
Thanks, Max. Sam, talk about anime.
Okay, well, I got two things I want to talk about. One, I finished The Idol.
Oh, you did? I watched the first episode and I noped out of that.
The show was so good. I don't think I've ever watched a TV show that was this bad before. In my life. It's horrible. There's no story. It's like you're watching Sam Levinson's personal like porn collection.
Oh no, it's definitely just like whatever he has a fetish for.
It's so weird. And then I'm not even gonna bother like reviewing it because it's not worth reviewing. It's just porn for the whole like first 5 episodes or for the first 4 episodes. Max
is adding it to his watch list right now.
It starts off with like a semblance of a plot. In the story that they introduce, I can see where it could have gone and it could have been interesting. But instead of focusing on the story, they lean way into the sexual aspect of it, which is the least interesting part of what's going on. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't do anything to add to the story. And then at the very end, they reveal that actually the idol character has been aware of his whole plan the whole time. And she's actually been manipulating him, kind of, sort of, maybe, it's unclear. And then they make out on stage, and she announces that that's her boyfriend, even though in the earlier scene, like, the executives are talking about how they use the media to, like, ruin his career and make him seem like an evil, like, pimp sex predator guy.
Yeah.
And then, like, she just, like, brings him on stage and is like, never mind, we are getting married and we're in love. And I was like, oh, what?
Huh?
And then the show ends.
Okay.
I don't even know. It's bad. Don't watch it. It's awful. I want to talk about Oshinoko. That's good.
We're talking about Oshinoko.
The Oshinoko, for those of you who are unaware,
like me,
like Tucker, because he does not engage with things that are good.
I have a
He's like the nerdiest person I've ever met in my.
I refuse to watch anime.
It's like,
yeah, why?
I just refuse.
Why?
I have a staunch moral disagreement.
What's your moral disagreement?
You're being like Matt Walsh.
I know. It's the joke.
It's not, but you're actually doing it.
I just don't watch anime.
Why?
I'm allowed to not watch anime.
But why would you do that on purpose?
They're just so long.
No, they're not. Oshinoko is 10 episodes long.
11 episodes.
And they're 22 minutes each, except for the first one.
Weird.
You watched 200 episodes of that 70 show.
Do you know how long Vinland Saga is?
I don't know.
Like 30 episodes, and they're all 20 minutes each. And that's 2 seasons. Anyways,
you're the anime one. I just don't watch anime.
So at the opening to Oshinoko, the first episode is 1 hour and 30 minutes. The first episode is effectively a movie. And I think that this was one of that basically never happens in anime. I've never ever seen a show where they make the first episode like a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was one of the smartest things I've ever seen a series do for anime. Because first off, the opening to the show is so confusing to understand. If they had sped through it, it would not have made any sense. And I don't want to spoil anything. If you do watch this show, I recommend that you go in completely blind. Don't look up any reviews. Even the first episode, there are so many spoilers, like right one after the other. And I think the show is best if you just go in totally blind. And you're just surprised by everything that goes on. It's a little weird. There's some like reincarnation stuff that happens in the first episode, and it like you just gotta accept that that's what's happening. But if you just accept that that's what's going on, the show the premise is so cool. So I do recommend that you guys, if you have not, check out Oshinoko.
You know what pseudo anime I will watch?
What's that?
This is the My Adventures with Superman. Comes out this week.
I forgot that exists.
That I will 100% watch.
Of course, yeah, you'll watch that.
Yeah.
You know Wolverine has an anime?
Does.
Yeah,
I know
several.
Suicide Squad's getting an anime.
Are you gonna watch that?
Have you tried talking?
Maybe. If it's good.
Well, it's probably gonna be fine.
Yeah, if it's just fine, I don't care. But I'll definitely watch that Superman show, because it's the first Superman cartoon in 30 years.
The Suicide Squad one isn't just an anime, but it's an isekai, which is like the reincarnated in another world thing.
So is it the Suicide Squad get reincarnated
they
somewhere else?
get stuck
or someone gets reincarnated into the Suicide Squad?
They get stuck in a fantasy world with like magic and wizards and stuff.
That sounds kind of stupid.
That's how every isekai
How
works.
does Amanda Waller still have connection to the bombs in their brain if they're
I don't
stuck in
think she
another
does.
dimension?
I think it's not about
And it's
that.
not really the Suicide Squad, is it?
Well, it's those characters.
But like, they have no reason to be doing anything.
Well, their reason is to get out of Fantasyland.
I guess so.
They have a strong reason to get out.
They have no reason to work together.
The reason to work together is to get out. But yeah, watch Oshinoko.
So weird
do not look up reviews. Just go in blind. That's the best way to watch it.
Right. Well, that's the show, everybody.
Also, Boku no Pico.
No, don't
look up anything about it. Don't look up reviews. Don't look up what people are saying.
Max, that meme is like so old.
I know, but you just have to go straight into it.
You know about that?
No.
It's like
Tell me about it later.
It's like a boys love anime with these like two like 12-year-old boys.
And,
it's so gross.
Dog.
Oh my gosh. That time I was reincarnated as like what was her name? Like Izuki-chan? I don't remember her name. It's about a guy who...
No, go straight into that. No
it's a guy who gets hit by a bus, and then he gets reincarnated as a dog, and then this girl adopts him and then, like, takes a shower with him in the first episode, and then, like, they, like, have a relationship, but he's a dog, like an actual dog. And the whole show is POV, like, of the dog.
That's weird. And
yeah,
all right.
That's it.
I don't think there's anything coming out this week. So next week we'll probably just talk about that Superman cartoon and Secret Invasion.
Unless we end up seeing like Elemental or something. Yeah, Secret Invasion's really hard to watch.
We'll probably get into it later on in the show.
All right, bye.